Chapter 51. Back to the original place, standing in front of Dumbledore, Dumbledore was even more helpless than Remy. Remy, if I remember correctly, you should have been away from me less than 10 minutes ago. Can you give me an explanation? Dumbledore asked. Principal Dumbledore, I would like to apply to go to the school hospital for treatment first. I am currently an injured person. Remy raised his hand slightly embarrassedly. There were several scratches on his hand, all of which were caused by Mrs. Norris when he was scratching her. Not only his hands, but his face was also bruised. As for why he returned to Headmaster Dumbledore's office, it was a sad story that began with an experimental accident in his own laboratory. At that time, Remy was preparing to make top-grade windows that could withstand explosions, but because he was not clear enough when constructing the finished product in his mind, the alchemy failed and eventually an explosion occurred. After that, he was sent to the prison cell. Since he couldn't catch Mrs. Norris, Remy once again practiced alchemy to make a chain that could move as fast as a snake and on its own. But in order to have enough magic power to continue the experiment later, Remy saved a little. As a result, the alchemy failed again because the magic power paid was insufficient. Then Remy was blown away again, and happened to be seen by a group of Slytherin students who were passing by and returning to the dormitory. Originally Remy wanted to run away, but the students who bumped into him were members of the Slytherin House Quidditch team. Not only were they all tall and strong, they all had flying brooms. And then Remy was taken to the principal's office. Injured? Dumbledore pushed up his glasses. I don't think you are injured, you are a patient. Do you need me to find a psychologist for you? Or a psychiatrist, or should I call a neurologist? Remy. Who do you take me for? I'm not crazy, why should I see a psychiatrist and a neurologist? Wait, a psychiatrist? Remy's eyes suddenly lit up. Well, I think I really need a psychiatrist. Remy said thoughtfully. Yohei? Dumbledore was visibly stunned, as if he had not expected Remy to be so self-aware. Then, he heard Remy say, but my condition is quite complicated. I'm afraid that ordinary psychologists won't be able to give me effective psychological treatment. Only a blonde, blue-eyed beauty psychologist between the ages of 25 and 30 with an intellectual beauty and a C cup or above can treat me. Dumbledore. I shouldn't have had any hope in you. Well. Sighing heavily, Dumbledore didn't even want to continue asking. In fact, he had already learned the whole story from Mr. Filch before asking Remy, and Mr. Filch even apologized for exceeding his authority. I will hire the psychiatrist you want if I have time. Now, Mr. Filch, take him to the detention room and lock him up for 3 days. Dumbledore waved his hand and said. Filch, who was standing nearby, was immediately delighted, but Remy's eyes suddenly widened. Why do you want me to be in trouble? Remy yelled. Principal Dumbledore, you haven't even asked me yet, and you're listening to my excuses. Listen to my defense. Don't believe their slander, they are simply colluding to frame me. Especially those Slytherin students. They are clearly deliberately framing me because I poisoned their headmaster Snape and sent him to the hospital. And they chased me on broomsticks. Not only did they use broomsticks in the castle, but they also used broomsticks in the basement, in dangerous areas. And a group of people used broomsticks. They committed a crime in a group. They violated school rules in a group. The nature of this is extremely bad. I suggest arresting them first, because I suspect they have colluded to subvert Principal Dumbledore's control over Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, an attempt to... Don't pull me, I haven't finished yet. I don't accept it. I want to see Professor McGonagall. I want to see the headmaster of Gryffindor House. I deducted too many points for Gryffindor. I held Gryffindor back. She should be the one to decide on the punishment, you can't set up a punishment hall privately. No matter how Remy screamed, Dumbledore just waved his hand impatiently to signal Mr. Filch to drag Remy out quickly. The moment the door closed, Dumbledore breathed a sigh of relief. The world is finally quiet. Albus, although what he did was indeed absurd, he is still young after all. Isn't it too harsh to lock him up in the detention room for 3 days, said the portrait of the 4th headmaster hanging on the wall. This child is too wild. Dumbledore shook his head helplessly and said, we must dampen his spirit, otherwise he will become more and more lawless in the future. That makes sense, but you need to remind Filch to just lock Remy up, otherwise it would be too much. Don't worry, Senior, I know this very well. Besides, Remy is not afraid of punishment, so it's better to just lock him up and let him be quiet for a few days. With his personality, letting him stay quiet should be the biggest punishment for him. Oh, Albus, I don't think so. Have you forgotten that he knows alchemy? I don't think he will be bored in the detention room. This will require Mr. Filch to work harder. As long as all the items Remy refines are confiscated, I think he will eventually get bored. Hearing Dumbledore's words, the headmaster's portraits on the wall all smiled knowingly. On the other hand, Filch had just taken Remy to a new detention room when he received a handwritten letter from Headmaster Dumbledore, delivered by Fawkes. Seeing the tedious requirements for guarding Remy in the letter, Filch was not surprised but delighted. He immediately opened the door of the detention room and rushed in to clean out everything inside. He even swept the room several times with a broom and mopped it several times. He dragged the stone floor to the point where it was almost reflective. "Do you need me to make some floor wax for you?" Remy asked curiously. "Thank you, no thanks, just stay here." After mopping the floor one last time, Filch picked up the bucket and mop and left the detention room. He left with an oil lamp to provide lighting. "Really? You think you can stump me like this? How naive." Remy pulled out a strand of hair and used it as raw material to make an oil lamp. He then used another strand of hair to make a box of matches. Snap! Just as I lit the oil lamp, suddenly, the door opened with a click. Filch walked to Remy with a smile on his face, picked up the oil lamp and the matches next to it, and then left. "Remy! What is this? Playing a war of attrition with me? Who is afraid of who? Move to the door, start alchemy, think of something random, and pay the magic power, which is definitely not enough." Then, bang! Chapter 52. With a loud bang, Filch, who was just about to return to his lounge, turned back subconsciously. When he turned around, he just witnessed Remy crashing through the door and hitting the wall of the passage with a bang, scaring a portrait on the wall so much that it ran away and disappeared. Remy was like a pile of batter, hanging on the wall, slowly sliding down, and then jumping up. "Oops, sorry, I accidentally escaped. Could you please change the door of the detention room? I need privacy, thank you." As he spoke, Remy brushed off the non-existent dust on his clothes, then swaggered into the confinement room. After coming to his senses, Filch gritted his teeth and was so angry that he almost crushed the oil lamp in his hand, if he had that much strength. After a while, Remy was surprised to see Filch and Professor Snape coming to the door of the detention room together. "He has been discharged from the hospital. I thought Professor Snape would sneer and use a repairing spell to fix the wooden door." Remy was even ready to set off another explosion to tire them out as soon as they were 100 meters away. But who would have thought that Snape did not sneer or use a repairing spell? "Tell me, how did you manage to create a water of life and death that was so potent and tasted, well, so?" Snape asked. Remy blinked. "Give me extra points." Snape was silent for a moment and then nodded. "If you can replicate the exact same water of life and death, yes." Remy's eyes suddenly lit up. "Oh. How many points?" Snape was silent for a while. "It depends." "What do you mean by it depends on the situation?" Remy suddenly felt unhappy. "This is the super powerful water of life and death. It's the only one of its kind in the entire magic world. Professor Snape, as a potion master, you certainly don't want to study such a magical potion without understanding it, right?" "Wait, why does this sentence sound weird?" Realizing what was wrong, Remy coughed twice. "Ahem, I mean, you have to give me a minimum price before I decide whether to tell you the formula." Snape's expression suddenly turned ugly, but he finally nodded. "As long as it works, I can give Gryffindor a minimum of 5 points. "Only 5 points?" Remy raised his eyebrows. "You deducted 50 points from me today." 50 points deducted from you? Snape frowned, and became deeply concerned about the teaching ability of primary schools in the Muggle world. "I haven't submitted the points deducted from you to Headmaster Dumbledore yet. If your formula is indeed effective, I can cancel the points I deducted from you and give you an extra 5 points, Snape said. "Oh, isn't this going back and forth equivalent to? Wait, Headmaster Dumbledore seems to have agreed to reform the scoring rules of the House Cup, and the previous deductions and bonuses will be cleared at that time." Judging from the time, Snape should not have met Headmaster Dumbledore yet. "You said you would just cancel out the deducted points? How do I make up for the face I lost?" Remy said with his head held high and chest puffed out, looking dissatisfied. I don't want you to clear the deducted points. I want you to give me at least 55 points. And you have to give me the points at the last moment before the College Cup award ceremony, so that I can save face in front of all the teachers and students in the school. Remy said. At least 25 points, since I only deducted 20 points from you, Snape said. What do you mean you only deducted 20 points from me? Is 20 points too little? If you think it's too little, then at least give me 45 points. Remy said. Snape snorted, it's only 25 points, so forget it. All right. Remy sighed and lowered his head to show his surrender. But we agreed that it's at least 25 points, and you have to sign a written agreement. Well, go ahead. Why are you in such a hurry? Sign the document first. As he spoke, Remy used alchemy to create a quill and parchment and handed them to Professor Snape. Taking the paper and pen, Snape carefully examined each feather on the quill and was very surprised. He had heard about Remy's talent from Headmaster Dumbledore before, but he didn't expect that seeing it with his own eyes would be even more amazing than what Headmaster Dumbledore had said. Why haven't you written it yet? Are you going to break your promise? If you break your promise, you will become a fat man. Remy said. Rolling his eyes, Snape took the quill and wrote the document. He not only signed his name, but also pressed his fingerprint at Remy's strong request. Although this document does not have any magical binding force, it is enough for Remy. After receiving the receipt, Remy did not delay any longer and wrote down the recipe without hesitation. Looking at the formula, Professor Snape frowned. What is this last magical ingredient called magic crystal? I don't remember there being a sub-ingredient with this name in the magic world. Did you not recognize the name you gave it? It seems that you are really interested in academic matters. Well, today I will let you broaden your horizons. Remy chuckled, rolled up his sleeves, and then used alchemy to create a magic crystal on the spot. This is the magic crystal. I am the only one in the entire wizarding world who can make it. It belongs to Scorpion Gigi, one and only. Remy said proudly, throwing the magic crystal to Snape, who had been staring at it with shining eyes. Ignoring Remy's strange metaphor, Snape took the magic crystal, swallowed subconsciously, and then observed the magic crystal carefully. However, after watching for a long time, Snape could not see any other characteristics except feeling the huge magical power and the strong attraction that was getting stronger and stronger. After a moment's hesitation, Snape took out a pair of very small scissors from his pocket and carefully scraped the surface of the magic crystal. Then he dipped his little finger in the magic crystal powder and put it into his mouth. As soon as the magic crystal powder entered his mouth, Snape's eyes lit up first, and then his brows frowned even more tightly. He felt that just a little bit of powder replenished him with a large amount of magic power, but he didn't taste any medicinal properties at all. Can the effectiveness of a potion be improved simply by increasing the magic power it contains? What a joke! If this is the case, wouldn't it mean that the more precious and powerful the materials, the stronger the potions that can be made? Then what is the point of studying potions? Wait! No medicinal properties at all. Snape suddenly had an idea and he seemed to understand something. Other materials that contain a lot of magic power have different medicinal properties. If you add them randomly when brewing a potion, it will not only fail to enhance the effect of the potion, but may even destroy the original medicinal properties of the potion, causing the potion to fail. But this magic crystal does not have any medicinal properties at all. How many more magic crystals can you make? I need some to experiment and verify the rationality of your formula. Snape said. Remy's eyes lit up. One magic crystal is 5 credits, I'll give you as many as you want. Snape's face suddenly darkened. 5 credits? I only accept 5 credits and 5 magic crystals. Oh, okay then, 10 credits for 1 magic crystal. Snape. Is there anyone who bargains like you? Chapter 53. After some bargaining, Remy reluctantly agreed to sell 5 magic crystals to Professor Snape at the price of 2 credits each. This price is very low. After all, apart from gaining some honors by winning the College Cup, the college points do not add any practical attributes. But Remy sold it anyway. Because Remy felt that since he could enhance the effect of the water of life and death by just randomly placing magic crystals, and it was officially certified by Professor Snape, then the magic crystals should also have a strengthening effect on other potions. As a potion master, Professor Snape must have at least dozens of potions, if not hundreds or thousands, right? With such a magic crystal, He must experiment with all of it, right? That's a huge sum of money. Only by casting a long line can you catch a big fish. Professor Snape, let me make it clear first. This time I agreed to sell it to you at such a low price because I poisoned you before. If you need magic crystals in the future, the price will not be the same, and you may not be able to buy them with school points. Remy said. The credits trading and other things would definitely not be able to go on after Snape knew about the reforms to the College Cup. Besides, Remy had long coveted Snape's exclusive magic, Shadowless. To be exact, Remy was eager for any magic. Snape snorted lightly, carefully put all the magic crystals into a bottle, then turned hostile and took out his wand to repair the door. Being locked up again, Remy was in a good mood and started humming a song. He also used alchemy to create a large piece of obsidian at the door to block it tightly. This time it's not that Remy was locked up in the detention room of Hogwarts Castle, but that Remy put Hogwarts Castle in detention. This is the legendary theory of relativity, also known as the method of spiritual victory. This is the perspective from which foreign kids observe the world. In the meantime, Professor McGonagall came over and used transfiguration to remove the obsidian blocking the door several times, but each time he did it, Remy would seal it again. After 3 times, Professor McGonagall was too lazy to care about him anymore. Maybe because Remy was detained on Friday, or maybe because Remy behaved well, he was released on Monday of the second week near noon after serving his sentence. Just in time not to delay the new week's classes. When Filch informed Remy in an indignant voice that he could leave, and when Headmaster Dumbledore personally used transfiguration to remove the huge stone blocking the door, and looked at Remy lying in the rocking chair rocking a glass of red wine inside, both of them fell silent. "Oh, Headmaster Dumbledore, you're here." Remy jumped up and placed the wine glass on the table, waving at Headmaster Dumbledore. "You've come at the right time. I have a brand new invention and I want to show it to you," Remy said. "A brand new invention? It was invented without any explosion?" Surprise and curiosity overcame speechlessness. Dumbledore pushed up his glasses and walked into the detention room, looking at the 2 oil lamps on the table. The 2 oil lamps are exactly the same, the only difference is that one is brighter and the other is dimmer. "Are these 2 oil lamps?" Dumbledore asked curiously. "That's right." Remy nodded vigorously, then walked to the door and sealed it again with a stone, then moved closer to the oil lamps and blew them out in one breath. As the oil lamp was blown out, the confinement room suddenly fell into darkness, without even a trace of light. "Principal Dumbledore, you may use the illuminating charm now," said Remy. Dumbledore nodded. He didn't even take out his wand. Instead, he demonstrated wandless casting and silent casting. He just raised his hand and held up a ball of light. As the light appeared, one of the oil lamps on the table suddenly burned up, painting the room with a warm orange-red color. This is my latest invention, the light-sensing oil lamp." Remy picked up the burning oil lamp with a proud look on his face. "This oil lamp can light up as long as there is light. No matter whether it is light from other oil lamps, illumination spells, or sunlight, as long as it is light, as long as there is light within its sensing range, it will light up. It is fully automated. Very humane." Dumbledore blinked and thought for a moment. "It sounds magical, but why does it always feel like something is wrong? What if there's no light? Will it still work?" asked Filch. "Good question. Principal Dumbledore, could you please turn off the lights?" When Dumbledore turned off the lighting charm, the room was suddenly dark. "See? If there's no light, it won't light up at all," said Remy. Dumbledore. "Blanche? I told you something was not right. But it can be activated in other ways, such as..." Remy lit a match with a click and used it to light another oil lamp. When the match burned, the oil lamp lit up. That lamp continued to burn as the other lamp was lit. "Only, why do I feel that the brightness of this sensor oil lamp is not as good as the ordinary oil lamp next to it? Am I confused?" Dumbledore asked. "It's a light-sensing oil lamp." Remy corrected him, "You're not mistaken. Its brightness is only 50% of the nearby light source, which is half. After all, there is a loss in energy transfer, right?" Dumbledore. "You are really scientific, but why did you design such an unscientific thing? And this is a magical world. No need to talk about science." "Remy, I can't quite understand. It would be fine if it could enhance the light source, but since it is only half the brightness of nearby light sources, and it seems that its sensing range is also very small. What is its use? Dumbledore asked in confusion. Remy scratched his head and looked puzzled. I thought, I didn't say it was useful, did I? Dumbledore. In other words, it really is of no use? Then you invented it to dry wool. If I have to say what it is used for, I think it can be used as a teaching tool to convey some ideas more intuitively, although I haven't thought of any ideas that it can convey. Shaking his head, Remy pointed to the 2 oil lamps on the table. This is for you, my dear principal. Also, please open the door for me. I can't move that stone. Remy said. Well. Sighing, Dumbledore waved his hand and cast a spell without a wand again, but this time he used the levitation charm. Remy was so envious. Just as he walked out the door, Remy suddenly looked into the room again. Oh, by the way, I forgot to introduce that this light-sensing oil lamp does not need light to shine directly on it. It only needs a light source within a spherical range with a radius of 1 meter to light up. It's also okay to have light, but the brightness is not ideal. Remy said. Is that so? Dumbledore picked up the oil lamp on the table and fell into deep thought. If that's the case, then it does have some use, it seems. It can be put in a secret room. Chapter 54. Everybody, cheer up. Your king is back. First you hear the sound, and then Remy makes a stunning appearance in front of the restaurant door, posing as if he's taking off. However, the deathly silence told Remy that his way of appearance was not only not handsome at all, but also very awkward. Humph, a bunch of mortals who don't know how to appreciate. Remy stood up straight and shook his wizard robe, then raised his chin slightly at a 45-degree angle and looked up at the ceiling. His eyes revealed an indescribable melancholy. If being misunderstood is the fate of the expressor, then I accept it. Remy glanced at the classmates around him quietly and found that they were successfully stunned by his protein-rich words, so he breathed a sigh of relief. With a snort and a toss of his hair, Remy strode over and sat down next to Harry. The food is good, give me a sandwich. Remy said. Here, are you okay these 2 days? I heard Filch put you in detention. Harry asked. It's okay. I'm just a little bored. By the way, I want to eat a round sandwich with a beef patty in the middle that sizzles and oozes oil when you bite into it. Remy said. Harry. Isn't that a burger? I speechlessly changed a burger for Remy, who thanked me and started eating it in big mouthfuls. Didn't Filch punish you? I heard from my brothers that the detention cell is very scary, and there are even torture instruments used to interrogate prisoners. Ronald said. Indeed. Remy nodded. But Filch cleared all those things away after I went in. Not even a cat hair was left for me. That's good, but being locked up in a room with nothing in it. If it were me, I would probably go crazy in a day unless there were books, said Hermione. If I don't have a book, I think I can only last a day at most. If I have a book, I can fall asleep in an hour. Ronald said vaguely while stuffing something into his mouth. Speaking of books, I suddenly remembered something. Remy touched his chin, then stood up and hooked his finger to signal everyone to lean their heads over. What is it? Harry asked curiously, unconsciously lowering his voice. Let me tell you, before I was put in detention, I went to Headmaster Dumbledore's office. There were a lot of magic books in the office, including some that recorded dark magic. I bet they must be banned books that are not even in the banned section of the school library, said Remy. Ronald was a little confused, so. When Principal Dumbledore is not around, we'll find a way to sneak into the principal's office and steal them, said Remy. 3 people. Are you crazy? You are interested in the dark arts? Harry asked doubtfully. Why don't you understand? Remy looked around at the 3 of them and said, those magic books contain the most powerful magic. As long as we steal 3 or 5 of them and learn the magic in them, we can become the most powerful wizards in the magic world. Then we will punch Albus, kick Voldemort, suppress the Death Eaters, and destroy the Ministry of Magic. How is it? Are you excited? If you are excited, then take action. Now we are forming a team to start the principal's office dungeon. We are short of 3 people. Will you 3 join me? A beautiful tomorrow is waiting for us. The 3 of them looked at each other, shook their heads wildly, and looked at Remy with an extremely strange look, which made Remy feel uncomfortable. Remy, I think you may have been locked up for too long and are feeling bored. How about we go out for a walk and get some fresh air after class? Ronald suggested. Oh, it seems that it is not impossible. Holala, as they were talking, a large group of owls flew in from the skylight, each of them carrying packages or letters of varying sizes in their beaks or legs. The most eye-catching among them is the long johns, which are the largest in size and carry the most things, with the mouth and legs wrapped in wraps. You have so many things, Harry said enviously after seeing that Hedwig only brought him a letter. Ronald and Hermione looked at Harry enviously, thinking that at least he received a letter, but they got nothing. You only see the things, but not the trouble behind them, Remy said with a bitter face as he looked at the letter on a package. What's wrong? Harry asked. My father sent me a package saying that he had researched the legal loopholes in the wizarding world and asked me to find a way to open up sales channels in the wizarding world, Remy said. Sales? What sales? Ronald asked. Remy rolled his eyes at Ronald and asked, what kind of business is my family in? Your home? I remember you said before that your home is, this package can't contain. You guessed it, and it's the latest model. 3 people. Why is your father less reliable than you? How could a father teach his children to exploit legal loopholes and encourage them to bring guns into school? Isn't your father a Muggle? How come he uses owls to send you packages? Hermione asked with a frown. The package was sent from my teacher. I think my dad sent it to my teacher first, and then my teacher helped to send it over, Remy said. 3 people. Well, your teacher is not reliable either. Putting down the letter and the package, Remy was not going to open it now. The legal loophole his father mentioned in the letter was actually the same loophole Remy had discovered before, which required separate storage of guns and bullets and continuous possession for a conviction, but his father explained it more clearly. It's useless. If I open the package now, the professors will definitely confiscate it. As we all know, school rules can control things that the law cannot control. For example, in the past, some schools confiscated students' mobile phones and smashed them directly, completely ignoring that they were personal property protected by law and belonged to the students. The law is just a younger brother in front of school rules. School rules YYDS. Oh, my teacher also sent the magic card that Hagrid wanted. It's pretty good, Remy said. Really? That's a great coincidence. Hagrid just wrote to me and invited us to have tea with him in the afternoons. You can give him the magic card then, and go out for some fresh air, Harry said. That's a good idea. If Hagrid has time, we can ask him to take us to Happy Forest. Let's go to the Forbidden Forest to play. I heard there are all kinds of Pokémon in there, Remy said. I'm afraid Hagrid won't agree to this. Ronald shook his head and said, Hagrid is the forest ranger. His duty is to drive away students who intend to enter the Forbidden Forest. George, Fred, and others are often chased around by Hagrid. They are them, and I am me. Remy raised his head and shook his hair. To paraphrase my father's life motto, as long as you cater to the interests of the people, there is no business that is difficult to do. Excuse me, does this mean selling something to people that they like, or does it mean a bribe, of course? Harry. Ronald. Hermione. I knew it must be like this. Chapter 55. After dinner, Remy followed Harry and the others back to the dormitory to rest and put his package away properly. Then Remy returned to the cafeteria to pack a large box of food. He planned to deliver the food to Sirius in Azkaban. Do what you say. Since you have promised him, you still have to do it even if it is a little late. Be sure to be safe when you go out. Keep this bag. There are things in it that can protect you. When you encounter danger, don't worry about anything else. Just point this end at the enemy, pull this trigger, and then turn around and run. Don't worry about things. It doesn't matter if you lose them. At this moment, Remy chattered like an old father who was sending his daughter on a long journey. Fortunately, Soul Bullet was not a rebellious girl. She listened quietly without any impatience. After giving all the precautions, Remy watched the Soul Bullet leave. He kept watching the Soul Bullet until it disappeared from his sight. Back in the dormitory, Remy used the magic crystal to make a pot of water and added a cup each for Kyoku and Hedwig. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Remy feels that the feathers of the autumn johns seem to be softer and more lustrous than when they first met, almost like they had eaten dove. Wait, dove? Great. I suddenly have an idea for an invention. Thanks for the ad. Remy happily wrote down his inspiration in a small notebook and asked Harry and Ronald to continue to improve the previous gloves. Things have to be done one by one, not haphazardly, even when hitting people. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, several people left the dormitory together to go to class. When Remy followed Harry and Ronald out of the main building of the castle, he realized belatedly that the class he was going to take today was a flying class. Madame Hooch had been waiting in the flying square for a long time. After confirming that everyone was present, the lady with eagle-like sharp eyes immediately announced that the students from the 2 colleges should line up in 2 lines to get her flying broomsticks. The brooms provided for the flying class are old and worn. The top part of the handle of each broom is unusually round, and you can tell at a glance that they have been rubbed for a long time and have been polished to a patina. But other parts are a bit horrible. The lower and middle parts of the handle are mottled with large patches of paint peeling like an old city wall, and the broom head is even more sparse, like the top of a middle-aged man's head. It makes people doubt whether this broom can still sweep the floor, let alone fly. I can't understand why I'm so happy about getting such a broken broom. Remy muttered. Come on, it's a broomstick. Don't you think it's super cool? I don't think so. That's because you've never flown before. Believe me, once you successfully fly on a broomstick even once, you'll love the feeling. Okay, I'll try my best. Line up and stand straight, with each person about 1 meter apart, and place the broom horizontally on the ground in front of them under the command of Mrs. Hooch. Hermione seemed a little nervous, she kept breathing in and out. Even more exaggerated was Neville, this guy clenched his fists. I wonder if he wanted to have a real man's duel with the flying broom. Put your dominant hand just above the broom handle and say, up. Mrs. Hooch said as she demonstrated, and the broom in front of her flew into her hand. At first Remy thought this instruction was ridiculous and stupid, but after thinking about it, he understood. Up means pigeon, and pigeons can fly, so when you use the up command, you can control the flying broom to take off. After figuring this out, Remy stretched out his hand and placed it just above the broomstick in front of him like everyone else. Before he could give any instructions to the broomstick, there was a sudden bang from the side. It turned out that Ronald was hit by his broomstick. This scene immediately made everyone laugh, except Hermione, who became even more anxious because her broom did not respond. Fortunately, she finally succeeded after the 6th experiment. Seeing that others, including students from Slytherin College across the street, had successfully passed the test one after another, Remy officially began to give commands to his broomstick. Up whoosh! The flying broom took off vertically like a rocket and went straight into the sky. Its flight path was so fast that it was almost impossible to see clearly. Then it burned and disintegrated in mid-air. Well. Remy looked away and blinked. Mrs. Hooch, there must be something wrong with the broomstick we were using. Can you give me another one? Mrs. Hooch retracted her gaze and looked at Remy strangely for a long time before nodding and giving Remy another one. This time Remy did not give it any orders, but took it directly in his hand. As the teaching had moved on to the next stage, Mrs. Hooch was teaching them how to ride their broomsticks without falling off. But the teaching content was a little far-fetched. Mrs. Hooch actually taught them to hold the broom handle tightly with their legs and then lower their body center of gravity as much as possible. If you say it is useless, it is actually useful. But if you say it is useful, it seems useless. What's more? Mrs. Hooch, I have to remind you that I am a man. I am not born with grooves that can catch a broom handle. Instead, I have ridges that interfere with catching a broom handle. Remy said this when Madame Hooch came over to correct the way he was holding his broom, and Madame Hooch was dumbfounded. Is this really something a kid in his early teens should say? What are you thinking about at such a young age? Madame Hooch glared at Remy with eagle-like sharp eyes. Her face did not look good. Mr. Barrett, if you feel that the method I teach is not suitable for you, you can do it your own way, but I can't guarantee that you will not fall from the sky. Follow my method? Then I won't be polite. With a light flashing in his eyes, Remy nodded vigorously, then squatted down, grabbed a handful of grass and started alchemy. Harry looked at Remy curiously, with a hint of anticipation in his eyes. He also felt that the posture of riding a broomstick taught by Madame Hooch was not very comfortable. At the same time, many male classmates looked at Remy. In their eyes, they saw that Remy used grass as the raw material to make a leather seat similar to an electric car seat with a depression in the middle, as well as a pair of stirrup-like footrests and some strange things. Soon they understood what those strange things were used for. It turned out that they were used to fix the seats and footrests. After roughly estimating the distance, Remy installed the seat and footrests, then jumped on the broom. Very good, the sitting feeling is excellent, not uncomfortable at all, and there is a place for feet, it is perfect. As he spoke, Remy looked towards Mrs. Hooch excitedly. Can it fly next? How do we control it? Take off. Wait. It's not yet. Fly. Boom. Chapter 56. Asking Remy where he was going, Harry pointed to the principal's office. Looking at Remy, who suddenly broke the glass and flew in, Dumbledore was silent for a moment, then silently put down the quill in his hand, picked up the chocolate on the plate and ate a piece to calm himself down. Tell me, what happened? Dumbledore asked. I don't know. Remy patted his head. I was riding on a broomstick and said take off, and then the broomstick exploded. Are those antiques out of date and have quality problems? The brooms used for teaching are indeed a bit old, but there is no problem with the quality. Madam Hooch will carefully check them before each use. Dumbledore shook his head and said, I have a general understanding of your situation. You don't need to take flying lessons in the future. Really? Remy was stunned for a moment. What about charms? You won't let me take it, right? Then I can only study boring subjects like potions and history of magic. You can take the charms class if you want, but you can't use a wand to practice magic. You should be aware of your problem, right? Ollivander mentioned what happened to you in his shop in the letter he wrote to me. Dumbledore said. Ollivander wrote to Dumbledore? Remy nodded thoughtfully, and as soon as he looked up, he found that the glass he had broken through had been restored to its original state. Outside the window, Mrs. Hooch, who was riding on a flying broom, breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that Remy was okay. After saying hello to Dumbledore, Madam Hooch left on her broomstick, probably to continue her class. Principal Dumbledore, now that you know my situation, do you have any good ideas? I can't just not cast spells forever, right? Would I still be called a wizard if I did that? Remy asked. There is no good solution for now. The magic power in your body is still growing rapidly. Only when the growth rate slows down can you carry out effective magic control training. Otherwise, it will be in vain. You should have a deep understanding of this, right? Dumbledore said. All right. Remy nodded helplessly, but the next moment, when he noticed the wand on the table, Remy's eyes lit up. Principal Dumbledore, how about you give me your wand to try? Maybe it can help me use magic normally. Remy asked with shining eyes. Dumbledore's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately put the wand on the table into the drawer. Impossible. This wand means so much to me, there can't be any mistakes. Dumbledore said firmly. Tisk, you stingy guy. Pursing his lips, Remy suddenly felt that his future was bleak. He can't use a wand to practice magic, and it's unlikely that he'll be able to just skip the wand and learn wandless casting. So can he still be considered a wizard? I think you can ask your teacher for help to make you something to suppress the magic in your body, or you can do some research on your own. Dumbledore said. This was a feasible suggestion, but what Dumbledore did not expect was that Remy instantly became furious like a cat whose tail was stepped on. Why should I put shackles on myself? Just because I'm strong? Is there something wrong with being strong? Is being strong the original sin? Remy jumped up and down. Dumbledore. No wonder Nicholas Flamel tampered with the magic cards without telling you. It turns out that there is something wrong with your concept. There's nothing wrong with being strong. Dumbledore pushed up his glasses. But you can't control the magic in your body. Shouldn't you find a way to suppress it? Remy immediately shook his head. It is impossible to suppress magic power, not in this lifetime. If nothing works, I will research a wand that I can use. Dumbledore frowned when he heard Remy's words. He couldn't understand why Remy was so resistant to suppressing his magic. Based on his current understanding of Remy, Remy was not a reckless man. He was a man of rough but meticulous thinking and actually had a very useful brain. Could it be the influence of the magic treasure? Dumbledore suddenly thought. According to Nicholas Flamel's previous statement, Mobos are magical creatures that are the opposite of obscurus and are born from the excessive use of magic power, and they already have instincts. In theory, such a special creature would instinctively resist living habits that are not beneficial to itself. Remy, come here, I'll check you out. Dumbledore said solemnly. Remy's heart skipped a beat, and he looked at Dumbledore inexplicably. You don't have any special hobbies, do you? Special hobbies? What's special? Meeting Remy's wary eyes, Dumbledore realized what was happening and immediately felt a toothache. What's going on in this kid's head? You, forget it, how about I take you to your teacher's house and let him check your body? I mean the magic treasure in your body. Dumbledore said helplessly. Remy breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, you mean Mabeo, it's fine, nothing happened. The more you say this, the more worried I become. Seeing that the misunderstanding had been resolved, Dumbledore pondered for a moment and then raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Remy's body immediately floated up and floated next to Dumbledore. After observing Remy carefully for a long time with a frown, Dumbledore suddenly stretched out his hand and pressed it on Remy's head. The next moment, he suddenly widened his eyes and looked at Remy in disbelief. Remy's eyes were wandering, and he seemed a little guilty, and he didn't even look Dumbledore in the eye. Remy. Dumbledore said in a deep voice, why didn't you tell me that the magic treasure in your body has undergone such a big change? Before Remy entered school, Dumbledore talked with Nicholas Flamel and learned that the magic treasure in Remy's body was white at first, then became bluer and bluer, and had turned slightly purple when he entered school. Dumbledore also saw the magic treasure in Remy's body after Remy entered school. At that time, he could directly sense it in its state. But now, without contact with Remy, he has no way to sense the specific state of the magic treasure, and he is shocked to find that the magic treasure has completely turned purple. Mabeo has grown again, and the magnitude is huge. You didn't ask. I'm not the kind of person who likes to show off. Remy said righteously. Dumbledore's breath hitched and he almost choked to death on Remy's words, but fortunately he didn't. So how do you feel now? Dumbledore continued after taking a deep breath. Feeling? I don't feel anything. Really? Absolutely not, it's the same as before, except that the magic power has increased a little bit. Its magic power has increased more than just a little bit, it's at least 5 times as much as before. Dumbledore glared at Remy, and his mind instantly recalled what happened in the Ministry of Magic. At that time, Dumbledore thought that Mobo was being cunning and pretending to be a pig to eat the tiger to launch a sneak attack. Now that he thinks about it, Mobo must have just made a breakthrough at that time. Recalling what happened in the Ministry of Magic, Dumbledore suddenly remembered Remy's extreme resistance to suppressing magic. He seemed to understand something. Chapter 57. After carefully examining Remy from head to toe, Dumbledore found nothing abnormal, so he changed his approach, using his own magic to invade Remy. This immediately caused a violent reaction from Mabeo. Dumbledore's magic had just entered Remy's body when a terrifyingly huge magic emanated from Remy's body, not only instantly repelling Dumbledore's magic, but also overflowing to form a protective shield 1 foot thick on Remy's body surface. Dumbledore's hand was immediately bounced away, and his palm even felt a little painful. It seems that this magic treasure has a strong sense of sovereignty. This is not a good sign. Dumbledore frowned and thought. Although this would provide Remy with more comprehensive protection, and even mental magic would not be able to affect Remy, it also meant that the magic treasure really had its own consciousness, and it was already somewhat beyond the scope of instinct. But it cannot be considered autonomous consciousness, it is still just a passive reaction. Are you done with the inspection? I still have to go back to class. Remy said. Didn't I tell you that you don't have to take flying lessons anymore? How can that be? I love studying. Studying loves me too. If I don't study for a day, I will feel uncomfortable all over. Excuse me, but I really don't see how you look like a student who loves studying. So it's time for you to change your glasses. Do you want me to make you a brand new pair of glasses with built-in telescope function? No, well, if you want to go to class first. Oh hey? You're letting me go so easily. Remy was overjoyed and quickly said goodbye to Dumbledore and left the headmaster's office. He also felt very pressured to be in front of Dumbledore, especially when Dumbledore was always looking at him with a scrutinizing gaze. What Remy didn't know was that Dumbledore also left the headmaster's office shortly after he left. He went to see Nicholas Flamel to inquire further about the situation. Leaving the principal's office and heading for the flying class, Remy was stunned as soon as he turned a corner. Filch opposite him was also stunned, and Mrs. Norris at his feet was even more stunned and then quickly hid behind Filch's legs. What a coincidence, Mr. Filch, on patrol again. Remy greeted. Yes, but it should be class time now, right? It seems that you have brought honor to Gryffindor House again. Filch said. You can't say that. Gryffindor has so many points, it's not that easy for me to deduct all of them. Remy smiled and said, "It just so happens that I need your help with something." "Humph, I don't have time to play house with you." Filch snorted coldly and walked past Remy. Just as he was about to pass by. "Don't you want to have the ability to cast spells?" Filch's pupil shrank suddenly and he stopped immediately. Gudong! Filch swallowed subconsciously, a look of panic suddenly appeared on his face, and his hand involuntarily reached for his pocket. "I don't understand what you're saying," said Filch. "Yet." Remy took 2 steps back and looked at Filch with a half-smile, which made Filch feel uncomfortable and he didn't dare to look at him. He was even a little annoyed. Filch was about to explode, but before he could, Remy took the initiative to interrupt his spell. "My teacher invented a magic card that can release magic without waving a wand or chanting a spell. As long as you have magic power, you can release magic. And I invented a glove that can autonomously absorb the wearer's magic power and transfer it to a designated target. With the two working together, as long as you have magic power in your body, you can use them to cast magic even if you can't control or even sense the magic power." Hearing Remy's words, Filch was stunned at first, and then his Adam's apple kept moving up and down. He opened his mouth, but his throat felt dry before he could speak. He spoke in a hoarse and slow voice, "So, please ask, Oh, look, Mr. Filch, I'm in some trouble now and need a little help. I wonder if you would be willing to be the blue fat man and lend me a hand?" Remy asked. Filch let out a long sigh, a look of deep confusion appearing on his face. "Well, Mr. Barrett, I'm afraid I can't convince the professors not to deduct points. I'm just the castle manager and a servant," Filch said. "Deduction? What deduction?" Remy blinked in realization. "I'm not asking you to help me plead with the professor. In fact, I just came from the headmaster's office. Headmaster Dumbledore has approved that I don't have to go to flying, charms, and transfiguration classes. I don't have to go to the classes they need to go to, and I won't be penalized for actions that would penalize them. Free to skip classes, special permission from the principal. If you don't believe me, you can go to the headmaster's office and ask Headmaster Dumbledore." Seeing Remy's arrogant look, Filch was stunned and immediately had many doubts. The biggest doubt was, "What can I do for you?" Filch asked. "It's like this. My auxiliary spell casting gloves need further improvement. Right now I need to solve the power problem urgently, that is, the speed of absorbing magic power. I'm not sure whether people like you have as much magic power as real adult wizards, so I need people like you to conduct experiments to collect data and further improve it," Remy said. After hearing Remy's words, Filch's eyes suddenly lit up. "I do. Mr. Barrett. You wanna FK me?" Remy rolled his eyes, but understood what Filch really wanted. "That's fine as long as you're willing. Once the product is perfected and goes into mass production, I'll put your name in the list of R&D personnel, and then you'll be remembered in history," Remy said. No need." Filch was flattered and waved his hands quickly. "As long as you can sell me one when the time comes, I'll be willing to pay any price." "Hey, I feel relieved when you say this." Remy's eyes lit up. He hadn't even taken out the product yet, let alone let Filch try it out. Under such circumstances, Filch agreed without hesitation and said he was willing to pay any price. This was enough to show the appeal of the assisted casting gloves to Squib. The sales channel is clear and there is enough room for premium. It would be unreasonable not to mass-produce such a product. In that case, follow me. Let's first test the most suitable magic extraction speed, and then I will study how to reduce costs, I mean how to mass-produce high-quality and low-cost finished products. That's it." After 2 dry coughs, Remy quickly changed the subject and explained to him the process and precautions of the experiment, and took Filch to his laboratory. To be exact, it was Filch who took him there. Filch was much more familiar with the layout of Hogwarts Castle than he was. Chapter 58. It was still the same empty room, except there was one less bride and one more slovenly Filch. The moment Filch put the condom on, he cried. This feeling, I feel a warm current leaving my body, this feeling is so good. I feel the magic. It must be magic. I can finally feel the magic too." After hearing what Filch said, Remy's heart moved, and he was sure that Filch was not just unable to control magic before, but he could not feel magic at all. Looking at Filch, who was so excited that tears were streaming down his face, although Remy felt a little bit reluctant, he still had to interrupt him in order to prevent any experimental accidents. Mr. Filch, come back to your senses. Can you feel the total amount of magic power now? What is the current rate of magic loss per second? Remy shook Filch and asked. Ah? This. Filch came back to his senses from the excitement and frowned, then his eyes dimmed. I don't know. I can just feel something leaving my body, but I can't tell how much I have left, said Filch. Oh, well, it seems I need to create a tool to help measure the amount of magic power in other people's bodies. I also need to measure it myself. As he spoke, Remy held out his hand to Filch, motioning him to take off his gloves. Filch's face showed a struggle, and he reluctantly took off the gloves and returned them to Remy. Seeing his expression, Remy praised himself for having the foresight to install the minimum power absorption module on this glove, otherwise an accident might have happened by now. Let me think about what kind of measuring tool I can make. Got it. I'll use crystal balls as the raw materials. I happen to have bought some in Diagon Alley and they're all in my suitcase. Remy muttered. Hearing Remy mumbling to himself, Filch's eyes lit up. I have quite a few confiscated crystal balls in my common room. I'll go get them. After saying that, Filch rushed out the door before Remy could react. Well, when he was going out, he accidentally broke a piece of the already broken door. You're really positive? But I still have to go back to the dormitory. I still have some magic crystals in my box. Shaking his head helplessly, Remy left the laboratory and returned to the Gryffindor College dormitory. There was no one in the dormitory, not even in the common room. In the dormitory, 2 owls were taking a nap. After hearing the door open, the 2 owls simultaneously turned their heads more than 200 degrees to look at Remy. If it happened late at night, it would definitely make people feel a little bit weird. Remy pulled the suitcase out from under the bed, picked and chose for a long time, then took out some things and walked out of the dormitory carrying the suitcase. When Remy returned to the laboratory, Filch had already arrived. He was pacing anxiously with 3 crystal balls of different sizes in his arms, and he only breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Remy. Don't be so anxious, Mr. Filch. Our experiment has just begun, and it will definitely take a long time before we can have a finished product. Oh, sorry, I was in a hurry. Can you look at these crystal balls? I have some more. Sure, I have quite a few here. You should go out first. If the alchemy fails, it will explode. I don't have the ability to protect you. Oh, okay. I'll be on guard outside. Just call me if you need anything. After sending Filch away, Remy took out a crystal ball as big as his head from his suitcase, and then took out a box of magic crystals. Let's try to succeed once, it shouldn't be difficult. Remy took a deep breath and rehearsed the desired effect in his mind. The first thing is naturally to detect the total amount of magic power. Remy plans to design it so that as long as the wizard puts his hand on the crystal ball can detect the total amount of magic power of the other party. Since it is a detection device, it must have a display screen to show information, which can be displayed directly in the crystal ball. Quantifying the total amount of magic power requires a reference system. Remy thought about it and finally decided to use the magic power in a magic crystal as the basic unit, 1000 magic points. Although the teacher told me that each of the magic crystals I made now has about the same magic power as an ordinary adult wizard, how much magic power does an ordinary adult wizard have? How big is the gap between wizards? How big is the gap between my magic power and that of Headmaster Dumbledore? The answer will be revealed soon. Taking a deep breath, Remy activated his innate alchemy and placed the crystal ball on the right side of the scale, then continuously injected magic power into the left side of the scale. When Remy felt that his magic power was less than half, he picked up the magic crystal and stuffed it into his mouth. If it is not mass production, there is no need to consider cost issues. As long as it is successful, everything is worth it. After eating more than 30 magic crystals in one breath and almost exhausting the magic power in his body, Remy stopped injecting magic power and started alchemy. SS. Seeing a golden light coming out of the crystal ball, Remy's face lit up with joy. He knew that this meant he succeeded. He quickly reached out to catch the crystal ball. It had taken so much magic power to make it. If it broke, he would cry to death. As soon as he caught the crystal ball, a circle of golden rolling numbers appeared in the crystal ball, rotating at a constant speed around the surface of the crystal ball, 233,333. Oh my god, is it so auspicious? But isn't 230,000 a bit exaggerated? My magic power is 233.303 times that of an ordinary adult wizard? Could there be something wrong? Or does the magic crystal not actually have that much magic power? After thinking for a moment, Remy put the crystal ball into the suitcase, then ate some magic crystals to make a table and a soft black cushion with silver edges. Putting the mat on the table, and then placing the crystal ball that had been named Magic Detection Crystal Ball on the mat, Remy coughed twice to clear his throat. "Mr. Filch, come in, I need a little help from you," Remy said. "Here I come." Filch ran into the laboratory in a hurry, and accidentally broke a small piece of the door panel when he entered. "What can I do for you?" Filch asked. Remy moved aside to reveal the table behind him, then pointed to the crystal ball on the table. "It's very simple, just put your hand on the crystal ball." "Okay, no problem." While rubbing his hands on his clothes, Filch walked to the table, took a deep breath, rolled up his sleeves, and resolutely placed his hand on the crystal ball. If you didn't know, you might think Remy was going to chop off his hands. As Filch placed his hand on the crystal ball, numbers immediately appeared on the crystal ball, rotating at the same speed as before, but now they were white and displayed, 326. Seeing this number, Remy curled his lips in disdain. Only 326, not even a fraction of his. Trash. Spicy chicken. Chapter 59. 326 magic points, less than one-third of the preset standard unit. This total amount of magic can only be described as appalling, especially since Filch is already old and it is estimated that it is impossible to increase it further. However, the premise of this evaluation is that the magic power contained in the magic crystal is not outrageously much. If the magic power contained in the magic crystal is outrageously much, then Remy's magic power value will only be even more outrageous. In order to verify this, Remy brought a magic power detection crystal ball to the flying class venue and measured the magic power of every classmate he met on the way. Some students were very uncooperative, but the vast majority of them cooperated with Remy to complete the test out of curiosity. More than 10 people were tested along the way, and no one's magic value exceeded 1000. The one with the highest magic value was a 5th grade senior, who had more than 800 points of magic value. This made Remy more confident in the accuracy of the magic detection crystal ball. Just as they were about to leave the main building of the castle, Remy's eyes suddenly lit up. "Professor McGonagall!" Remy yelled. Professor McGonagall, who was walking hurriedly forward, stopped and turned to look at Remy when she heard someone calling her. "Oh, it's you, you." Professor McGonagall looked outside and then frowned. "Shouldn't you be taking flying lessons with Harry now? Are you skipping class?" "How could that be? I just had a talk with Headmaster Dumbledore." After explaining, Remy trotted over to Professor McGonagall and handed over the crystal ball on a cushion. "Please help me and press it," Remy said. "What is this? A crystal ball? For divination?" Professor McGonagall asked. No, it's just to detect the total amount of magic power in the wizard's body," Remy said. "Oh." Professor McGonagall pushed up his glasses, a hint of interest in his eyes. "How?" Professor McGonagall asked. "Just put your hands on it, and don't do anything else," said Remy. "So." As he spoke, Professor McGonagall placed his hand on the crystal ball, which quickly displayed numbers. Professor McGonagall tilted her head and read the number clearly, 10,010. At the same time, Remy also saw it clearly, and couldn't help but admire in his heart that he was worthy of being the vice president. He actually possessed the legendary binary magic. No, he actually possessed so much magic power. Of course, it's still a little bit behind me. What does this number mean? Professor McGonagall asked curiously. "I set the magic power of an average adult wizard to 1000 as the basic unit, but I'm not sure if it's accurate, so I'm doing experiments now," Remy explained. Professor McGonagall nodded. "Oh, it should be about the same. Some average adult wizards may not have more magical power than the outstanding students in Hogwarts, especially those who are good at transfiguration." "Especially students who are good at transfiguration?" Remy was stunned for a moment. "Is there a spell in transfiguration that can increase magic power?" "Arminigus?" Remy asked with a frown. "It's animagus," Professor McGonagall corrected and then shook his head. "It's not this magic, but, well, that magic is too far away from you, and strictly speaking it is actually a very dangerous black magic." Remy's eyes suddenly lit up. Black magic. It's still a black magic that can increase magic power. I like. No wonder the principal and vice principal of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry are both professors of transfiguration. It turns out there is such an inside story. Oh, and there's Voldemort. That guy made himself look like neither human nor ghost. Could he also use that trick? Noticing the light in Remy's eyes, Professor McGonagall's heart suddenly trembled. Mr. Barrett, I advise you not to try that magic. It requires extremely high attainments in transfiguration and extremely superb magic control ability, plus a more complicated ritual than Animagus, with less than a third chance of success. Once it fails, you have to wait at least another year before you can try it again. You don't meet the conditions at all, and your magic power should be no less than mine now, right? Well, of course the more magic the better. But don't worry, Professor. I know my own level of magic. Now I can't even learn the levitation spell, let alone the high-level or even top-level magic. Remy said. Professor McGonagall nodded, feeling relieved, and when he looked at Remy again, he found him much more pleasing to the eye. I'm glad you think so. Come with me. I have something to do with Mr. Potter, so I'll just take you to class. Are you sending me to class or escorting me? You can think whatever you want about that. Professor McGonagall continued to walk very fast with Remy. When the two arrived at the square, Gryffindor students were surrounding Harry and talking excitedly about something. Harry, who was surrounded in the middle, was holding a small crystal ball smaller than his fist. Remy remembers that it should be called the memory ball, but Remy thinks it should actually be called the amnesia ball. Because instead of helping people remember anything, it will always remind people that they have forgotten things, but it doesn't say what they have forgotten. Hey, it's just fun. If this thing were in Remy's hands, Remy felt that it would not survive more than 3 days before he would have to smash it. Mr. Potter, come with me for a moment. Professor McGonagall said sternly. The students who were originally surrounding Harry scattered instantly, truly living up to the old saying, husband and wife are birds of the same forest, but when disaster strikes, they fly away separately. On the contrary, the Slytherin students nearby all had expressions of gloating, especially a certain yellow-haired boy who was holding the broom handle tightly and taking out his anger on the flying broom. Remy, what's going on? Ronald came over and asked. I don't know. I just met Professor McGonagall at the door, but it should be a good thing. Remy said. Do you have any misunderstanding about good things? Professor McGonagall looked so scary just now, how could it be a good thing? Seamus complained. I'm a master of fortune-telling. How can I not predict good or bad things? Come on, put your hand on this crystal ball, I'll tell your fortune for you. Remy said. Is this true or false? Simo reached out his hand doubtfully and pressed it on the crystal ball, which immediately displayed his magic power, 404. Remy. What does this mean, no detection? Or is it really just 404 mana points? It shouldn't be like this. With Simo's extraordinary talent for blasting, how could he have only this little magic power? Could it be that the essence is concentrated? Or is it because he has not yet awakened his talent? Seeing Remy's expression change, Simo suddenly became nervous. What happened? Ah? Oh, nothing. Remy came back to his senses. Actually, this crystal ball is used to detect the magic power in a wizard's body. Your current magic power is 404 points, which is equivalent to 40.4% of an ordinary adult wizard. Oh, that scared me. But is my magic power too much or too little? Asked Seamus. But if we test them all we should be able to compare them. Who else wants to test their magic power? I'll do it. I'll try. I'm sure I'm better than Simodo. Me. It looks like a lot of fun, I want to play too. Chapter 60. After some testing, the results surprised Remy. The person with the most magic power is actually Ronald, and he is nearly 200 points ahead of the second place, reaching an astonishing 985 magic points. This amount of magic power is almost the same as the standard unit, which means that Ronald's magic power is now almost the same as that of an ordinary adult wizard. Hermione looked at Ronald with a complicated expression. She couldn't understand why Ronald, who looked ordinary and even a little silly, had magical powers far exceeding hers. Could it be that the dumber a person is, the more magical power they have? It seems that wizards of pure-blooded origin do have a certain first-mover advantage. Of course, it may also be related to the food you have eaten since childhood and the environment you live in. Remy glanced at Hermione before continuing. But everyone has their limits. Maybe you can reach your limit faster than Muggle-born wizards, but that doesn't mean your limit is higher than Muggle-born wizards. This requires more data to draw a final conclusion. Remy said. Ronald chuckled with a slightly smug smile, then stretched out his arms and put them around Remy's neck. Come on, Remy, pure-blood families still have a little advantage, probably in terms of magical power, but I don't have any special talent in learning magic, maybe you can surpass me in this aspect. Ronald said. Remy glanced at Ronald calmly, then reached out and pressed on the crystal ball, and lifted the crystal ball in front of Ronald. Looking at the numbers rolling on the crystal ball, Ronald counted them carefully. 1, 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, 100,000? You cheated, right? 230,000? How is that possible? Ronald asked in disbelief with his eyes wide open. How many? 230,000. How is this possible? We all only have 400 or 500, and Remy has 230,000. It must be cheating. After all, this crystal ball belongs to Remy. That's right, wait, isn't this a prank toy? Maybe. The sudden questioning did not make Remy angry, but it aroused his competitive spirit. It would be fine if you didn't say it out loud and only questioned it in your heart, but now that you have said it out loud, and in front of me, I have to prove it to you today. As he spoke, Remy stuffed the crystal ball into his pocket and rolled up his sleeves. Today I will show you a kind of magic that is probably only wielded by me. As he spoke, Remy raised his hand and made a boxer's starting gesture. Waves of magic power surged into Remy's fist and condensed on Remy's fist. At first, the students around could only feel the magic, but soon, they were shocked to find that they could not only feel the magic, but could even see the magic on Remy's fist. As if wearing a pair of purple boxing gloves, Remy Duin bumped his fists. This move was simple and unpretentious, it simply used the magic power gathered in the fist. Remy has always felt that it is a physical move rather than real magic, so he rarely uses it. But today, in order to prove that he has enough magic, Remy chose to use it. Which kid wants to try my magic gloves? Come forward. Remy raised his eyebrows and said. Gudong. Ronald swallowed in fear, then was startled. You, why are you staring at me? I didn't say anything. As if he thought of something, Ronald quickly turned around and his expression changed. He saw that the classmates who were originally very close to him had moved away from him at some point, and now there were only him and Remy within a radius of 2 meters. With a twitch of his mouth, Ronald quickly retracted his arm and took a step back. I didn't go forward, you. According to the theory of relativity, you are still moving forward, Ronald. You can't be serious. What do you think? Wow, Boyle. Ronald quickly turned around and ran away. He ran and he chased, and soon the two disappeared in the square. Remy chased Ronald all the way into the castle, and followed behind him, making a threatening gesture to scare Ronald. Suddenly, there was a bang and a scream that scared both of them. Ah! Remy quickly stopped and turned to look. He thought he had accidentally hit someone and was about to apologize, but when Remy saw clearly who was hit, he suddenly laughed. Hey, isn't this Peeves? Remy said with a smile. Peeves was floating in the air, holding his nose. He looked at Remy's fist and suddenly let out a scream, then his body suddenly disappeared. This startled Remy, and he subconsciously looked at his fist. What happened? Why did it run away? Ronald walked over and said, but you have to be careful, Peeves is very vindictive. Oh, okay, I get it. Remy came back to his senses and dissipated the magic on his fist. This action made Ronald breathe a sigh of relief. Let's go back to the dormitory and wait for Harry, and then we'll go find Hagrid together. Remy said. Oh, yes, I had almost forgotten about that. Taking one last look at the place where Peeves disappeared, Remy returned to the Gryffindor dormitory with Ronald. Before they returned to the dormitory, they met Harry and Hermione on the way. I don't know how they met each other. I guess Harry went back to look for them. How's it going, Harry? Professor McGonagall didn't deduct any points from you, did he? Ronald asked worriedly. No. Harry smiled and shook his head. Not only was there no point deduction, Professor McGonagall even took me to meet the captain of the Gryffindor house team. House team? Quidditch team. Yes, Professor McGonagall intends for me to join the Gryffindor Quidditch team and serve as a seeker, although I don't know what a seeker does yet. Oh my god! They let you be the seeker? That's the most glamorous position on the Quidditch team. Tell me, what did Professor McGonagall tell you? As they walked and talked along the way, Harry shared with the three what he had just experienced and his mental journey. You don't know, I was so nervous after being called away by Professor McGonagall, until Professor McGonagall took me to the dark arts classroom and called out a senior named Wood from the classroom. Oh, Wood. I know him, he's the captain of the Gryffindor Quidditch team, and he's the goalkeeper. Really? I don't know about that. He said he would give me a detailed introduction to the rules of Quidditch on Wednesday night, and then officially start training. That's so cool. Can I come along and see it? Well. I'll ask Captain Wood later. I'm not sure if he would agree. Listening to the two people chatting, Remy felt something in his heart. Now that Harry has successfully joined the Quidditch team, as Harry's friend, he should provide Harry with some help. Harry, I think you don't have your own broomstick. Remy asked. Oh, yes, Wood said I need a Nimbus 2000 or a cross sweep, but I can't go to Diagon Alley to buy these things now, and they may not sell them to me, after all, I'm a first-year student. Harry scratched his hair and said. Oh, my dear friend, have you forgotten what my profession is? Just leave the flying broom to me without any worries. Chapter 61. After hearing Remy's suggestion and recalling the magical gloves Remy invented, Harry's eyes lit up and he nodded repeatedly, saying that he would leave the matter of the flying broom to Remy, and he could let Remy set any reward he wanted. Remy was very satisfied with this. This was the first time he took the initiative to get an order, and he succeeded at the first try. Moreover, the client gave him full authority to do his best without making any requirements. With such a lovely client, Remy decided to complete this order with all his heart. Just as he was thinking, suddenly, a squeak interrupted Remy's thoughts and attracted the attention of the other three. The four of them looked up together, and saw a Eurasian red squirrel on a branch of a tree, barking at them and waving its little paws, looking very cute. Ronald, I think this squirrel is much cuter than your mouse. Do you want to change your pet? I can help you catch it. Remy said. This. Ronald's eyes flashed with a hint of desire, but after hesitating for a long time, he finally shook his head. It's better not to. Ban has been with me since I was born. If I abandon it now that I'm old, it will definitely be very sad, and my parents will definitely not agree. I didn't realize you were so affectionate. But what kind of rat is your Scabbers? How did he survive so long? Ah? This. I'm not sure. Maybe he has some special bloodline. I'll ask my parents later. Looking at the four people below chatting as they walked, the squirrel in the tree suddenly became anxious. It barked even louder, even rubbing its teeth against the tree trunk, making a teeth-grinding sound, as if it was trying to attract the attention of the four people below. But no one paid attention to it. Seeing that the four people were about to leave, the little squirrel moved quickly between the branches and rushed into a tree hole. Then, it grabbed an iron box with its teeth, rushed out, jumped onto the branch in front of the four people, and knocked on the box with its little paws. What is it doing? Is it charging us a toll? This box seems to be a sugar cube box from the Muggle world. I remember my mother bought it. Is it asking for sugar cubes from us? Or is it going to give us sugar cubes? It shouldn't be given, right? I feel like the box is empty. Compared to the three people he guessed, Remy felt that the box in the squirrel's hand looked familiar, and the more he looked at it, the more familiar it looked. After getting closer and taking a closer look, Remy was immediately amused. Wasn't this exactly what was left after he had taken out the pine nuts from the squirrel's nest? So the squirrel nest I dug out that day was yours. What a pity that the pine nuts in that nest were blown to ashes before I could even eat them. Remy said as he reached out his hand, but before he could touch the box, the squirrel suddenly picked it up and walked away. Jumping onto another branch, the squirrel stopped and turned to look at Remy, then pointed at Remy and then at himself with its paw, and then knocked on the box. It seems to want you to go somewhere with it, maybe it's its nest. Ronald said. Such a cute little squirrel, and you actually robbed its nest? The poor little creature must have no food to survive the winter and is asking you for compensation. Hermione said. That shouldn't be the case. Squirrels are creatures that store a lot of food. And there are so many pine trees around, so they won't lack pine nuts to eat. Although he said this, Remy was still a little uncertain. Forget it, I'll go over and take a look. You guys go to Hagrid first, I'll be there soon. Remy said. Why rush? Let's go together. I'm also curious about what it wants to do. Harry said. Harry's words were immediately agreed by Ronald and Hermione. Hermione even said that she must supervise Remy to replenish the squirrel's food reserves for the winter. Following the squirrel all the way to a tree, the squirrel gestured to Remy and kept climbing up and down the tree trunk. You want me to climb a tree with you? Remy asked. The squirrel nodded. Squeak. Looking back at Harry and Hermione, Remy shrugged helplessly and began to climb the tree. Fortunately, the tree is not tall and has many horizontal branches, so it is easy to climb. When Remy followed the squirrel up the tree and saw a tree hole and the things inside, he was stunned. I saw that the tree hole was full of pine nuts, so many that they were almost overflowing. The squirrel seemed very happy. It pointed at the tree hole, then at the box that it had opened, and then made some gestures again. Let me guess, you mean to say that you can give me all the pine nuts in there as long as I give you what's in this box? Remy asked after coming to his senses. Squeak. The squirrel nodded quickly and even jumped up excitedly. Remy was a little surprised, and tentatively created a magic crystal. As soon as the little squirrel saw the magic crystal, it stopped jumping. Its two black little eyes stared at the magic crystal without blinking. It turned its head to wherever Remy took the magic crystal. Do you really want magic crystal? This squirrel has eaten the magic crystal? And it's still alive? With suspicion and confusion, Remy handed the magic crystal to the squirrel. The next moment, the squirrel quickly grabbed the magic crystal and put it directly to its mouth. Under Remy's inquiring gaze, he saw it open its mouth and use its protruding front teeth to scrape some magic crystal powder. After just a scratch, the little squirrel squinted his eyes in ecstasy and satisfaction, and put the remaining almost complete magic crystal into the box. After pointing at the tree hole again, it jumped to another branch with the box in its mouth and rubbed the box against it again and again. It can be seen that it likes this box, and the magic crystal inside it very much. No wonder you're still alive. It turns out you have such strong self-control that you even know to only scrape a little powder at a time. With a slight smile, Remy grabbed a handful of pine nuts from the tree hole and shook them in front of the squirrel. The little squirrel didn't react at all, just glanced at it and continued to rub the box. After grabbing 3 handfuls of pine nuts, Remy created 2 more magic crystals and handed them to the squirrel. I'll give you these 2 magic crystals as well, but don't be greedy. Also, I'll give you magic crystals regularly in the future, if I haven't forgotten. As he said this, Remy rubbed its little head, and then jumped down from the tree in his unique way. This scared Harry and the others so much that they didn't even have time to catch Remy. Fortunately, Remy was fine, except that his clothes got a little dirty while he was getting up. It just wants magic crystals. It's not that it doesn't have food reserves. There are still plenty of pine nuts in the tree hole. I estimate there are enough for it to eat for a whole year. Remy said while patting his clothes. Harry and Ronald nodded. They had seen and heard what happened in the tree. Only Hermione was confused. Magic crystal? What is that? Hermione asked. It's used to replenish magic power, usually for making tea. If you are interested, I can give you some when you get to Hagrid. Remy said. Hermione nodded and didn't ask any more questions, but she glanced curiously at Remy from time to time. Chapter 62. Although Hagrid looked rough and honest, he received them very warmly. He not only made tea for them, but also brought out rock cakes to treat them. Remy can guarantee that this is the most hardcore food he has ever eaten. In order to taste this delicacy, Remy almost sacrificed his teeth, but in the end only a row of teeth marks were left on it. Faced with this reality, Remy had to ask for a saw for help, and finally he was able to saw a whole piece of rock cake that was bigger than his palm into small pieces. Oh, I forgot to tell you that it's best to eat this cake with tea. It will become much softer after coming into contact with water. Although I think it will not be chewy, it may be just right for you. Hagrid took the kettle from the stove and turned around to say. Harry and Ronald's faces suddenly turned dark, thinking, why didn't you tell us earlier, our teeth are almost worn out. Looking at the huge kettle that Hagrid brought down, everything here is large-sized, Remy was about to put a magic crystal in it when he suddenly had an idea. First stopping Hagrid from pouring tea for them, Remy took out the crystal ball and invited him and Harry to test their magic power. As expected, Harry's magic power far exceeded Ronald's, reaching a staggering 2,500. However, what Remy did not expect was that Hagrid actually had a magic power of over 7,000. Considering his body size, this result is not unacceptable. As for Harry, he's the savior who defeated Voldemort at the age of 1, so what's wrong with being a little special? Okay, let's have some of Remy's special magic drink. As he spoke, Remy put a magic crystal into the kettle, and after thinking for a moment, he put another one in. This kettle is really too big. With the addition of magic crystals, the ordinary tea suddenly exuded a strong aroma. This aroma not only attracted Hagrid's dog, but even some boxes in the room became restless. This made Hagrid suddenly feel a little uneasy. He wanted to say something but didn't dare to. As the noise grew louder, Hagrid sighed in frustration. Okay. I don't know why, but I'll give it to you. As he spoke, Hagrid walked to a crooked cabinet against the wall that was obviously handmade, and took out a few small bowls from it. This small bowl is only small relative to Hagrid's hand, in fact, it is not small at all. After pouring a few bowls with the kettle, Hagrid remembered that this pot of tea now belonged to more than just him. Oh, by the way, what did you put there? Is it very precious? Hagrid asked a little nervously. It's not precious to me, please feel free to do as you please. Remy said. Hagrid breathed a sigh of relief, picked up the bowls and put them into the box one by one, but each time he used his body to block them from seeing, which made them feel itchy. Ronald did ask, but Hagrid not only hesitated and refused to explain what was inside, but also warned them not to tell anyone else. It's obvious that there are contraband inside. At the critical moment, Remy used the magic card to change the subject. Hagrid was very excited and happily gave Remy 2 more rock cakes. He then took out a box and said that this was all his belongings. If Remy felt that it was not enough, he would find a way to make up for it later. Remy didn't refuse, but he didn't take it all either. He just grabbed a handful symbolically, most of which were nat and a small amount of sickle. This touched Hagrid so much that he gave Remy 3 more rock cakes, even though Remy didn't even finish half of them. I have to say that rock cakes are ridiculously hard. Not to mention eating them directly, even if they are soaked in water, they are still very hard. So hard that Remy doubts it's bulletproof. Then. I'm so angry. Remy, what are you doing? Oh my god. Puff. What is this? A gun? It's quite pretty. The 4 of them widened their eyes instantly, and looked at Remy in disbelief as he took out a small and exquisite pistol from his pocket. The pink gun body is covered with irregularly distributed silver spots, which looks very beautiful. Let me introduce you to this gun. It's called the Pavna Witness. Theoretically, it will take many years for it to be released, but because it's so beautiful, I got it in advance. This gun is not only beautiful in appearance, but also very lightweight. In addition, it uses 9mm bullets, so the recoil is relatively small. It is a very suitable female pistol for women. When Remy introduced it, Hermione had already stared at the pistol in Remy's hand with shining eyes. She was completely fascinated by this pistol. Especially this pink one. I gave it a nickname, the Pink Fluffy Bunny. As he spoke, Remy took out a silencer from his pocket and installed it on the pistol. This silencer was obviously matched with the Pink Fluffy Bunny, because not only was it pink, it also had 2 furry decorations that looked like bunny ears. This is a gun that is not very powerful but extremely insulting, because no one can stand the humiliation of being defeated by a pink furry rabbit. Grinning, Remy picked up the rock cake and placed it on the windowsill, then began to reload the magazine. Oh, by the way, I forgot to introduce it just now. This gun can hold 13 rounds of 9mm bullets. It is the women's pistol with the largest ammunition capacity, said Remy. Wait a minute. Harry stood up quickly. You don't want to shoot here. Why not? Why do you need a gun? There are no enemies here. Although there are no enemies, I want to study whether rock cakes can be bulletproof. But. Don't worry, didn't you see I installed a silencer? It won't make much noise, and it won't cause any trouble for you. After successfully convincing Harry, Remy loaded the bullets and motioned Harry to stand aside. Harry and Ronald quickly hid in the corner. Instead, Hagrid and Hermione sat there watching carefree, especially Hagrid. There was no fear in his eyes at all. Aim, hold your breath for 3 seconds, pull the trigger, and fire. Whoosh! The sound was indeed not loud, and the rock cake that was hit really blocked the bullet. Although it did not send the bullet flying, it successfully stuck the bullet in the middle, with no damage on the back but only a bulge. It's simply perfect. After picking up the rock biscuit and examining it carefully for a while, Remy handed it to the curious Harry and Ronald, and then handed the pistol to Hermione, who had been staring at the gun. There are no bullets in it anymore. I'll give it to you. If you like, I can give you a magic pistol that can replace the magic wand, or should I call it a magic gun? Remy said. Hermione's eyes lit up, but after a moment's hesitation she did not take the gun. Forget it. I just like the look of this gun. I have no interest in guns, not at all. Hermione said. Yet? Remy looked at Hermione suspiciously. If you are really not interested, why emphasize it? You are exposed. Chapter 63. After finishing the bulletproof experiment on the rock cake, Remy turned to study the changes in the magic power of the 4 people after they drank the magic crystal tea, measuring them every 5 minutes. Through research, it was found that everyone's magic power increased by 5% to 20% after drinking magic crystal tea, but after half an hour, it returned to the previous level and did not really break through the upper limit. This discovery made Remy very unhappy. He thought that he could increase the magic value limit by 1 or 2 points. Maybe it needs to be taken for a long time to be effective. It seems that long-term experiments are still needed. Harry and the other 2 are still growing up, so we probably won't be able to find out anything from the test. Hagrid. Remy glanced at Hagrid and felt that it was not reliable to ask Hagrid because he lived a little far from the castle and it would be troublesome if he came here every day for testing. After much thought, Remy decided to ask Filch for help. Filch's magic power is relatively low, so if the magic crystal really has an effect, it should be able to show up on him more quickly. Oh, and there are also Long Johns and Hedwig, but they are owls, not humans. Even if it works on them, it may not be suitable for humans. But it can be used as a control experiment. As he was thinking, Harry suddenly found a newspaper on a cabinet and was immediately attracted by the content of the newspaper. Remy, look, isn't this the vault we went to? Harry patted Remy's arm anxiously. Let me see. Well, it seems so. Remy nodded. Why aren't you surprised at all? Why should I be surprised? It's been hacked. That means someone, a dark wizard, wants to get the contents of that vault. Didn't he get it? We took everything out of it a long time ago. But there are not so many buts. That's the adults' business, not ours. I have more important things to do now. What's up? I don't know, but I've felt since I came here that there are something more here than in the castle, and these things are what the castle should have but lacks. What? I told you, I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. Waving his hand to signal Harry to go play, Remy really had no interest in Voldemort now. He was only interested in the mysterious intuition that just flashed through his mind, and was trying his best to grasp it. Seeing Remy in a trance, Harry had to go to Hagrid to discuss the matter. However, Hagrid didn't want to talk to him about it, and even refused to admit that the stolen vault mentioned in the newspaper was the vault they entered. This made Harry a little depressed, and he could only drink his tea in silence. 3 of the 5 people were not in the mood to talk. Hermione looked out the window and suggested that they should go back. This suggestion was immediately supported by Harry and Hagrid. Under Harry's constant questioning, Hagrid didn't know what to say and now just felt extremely embarrassed. As everyone stood up and walked out of the door one by one, when they heard a buzzing sound, Remy, who had been frowning and thinking with his head down, suddenly had a dazzling light in his eyes. He understood. Bang! Remy slapped his thigh excitedly and waved his fist vigorously again. That's it. I was wondering if Hogwarts Castle was missing something. I have an idea. Remy said excitedly. What's missing? Hermione asked curiously. You will understand later. When I succeed, it will definitely shock the entire magic world. Not just the magic world of Ying Country. As he spoke, Remy quickened his pace and walked towards the castle. The others looked at each other and hurried to catch up. I went back to the dormitory to think about it first, and measured the magic points of Kaihoku and Hedwig by the way. As expected, these 2 owls both have magic points, but they are very little, less than 100. After recording their magic values in the notebook, Remy officially began to conceive his big plan. During this time, Harry and Ronald tried to peek several times, but Remy discovered them in advance and closed the notebook, so they didn't see any information. The more Remy acted like this, the more curious Harry and Ronald became. They even hid in a corner and plotted to wait until Remy went to bed at night to steal his notebook. However, they were soon disappointed because Remy left the dormitory not long after and disappeared. They didn't know that Remy had a laboratory, and they didn't know that Filch, whom they feared, had been recruited by Remy. This night was particularly long for Harry and Ronald. The two curious students waited until they could no longer hold on and fell on the bed, but Remy still did not come back. It was not until the next morning that the two were woken up by the other two people in the dormitory and told to have breakfast together and prepare to go to class. Remy, didn't come back yesterday? Harry asked, trying hard to keep his eyes open. Seamus shook his head. I don't know. Anyway, he wasn't in the dormitory when we woke up. Just as he finished speaking, suddenly, the door was pushed open and Remy walked in with a bright look on his face. Oh, Remy, we were just talking about you. Where were you last night? Were you caught by Filch and put in detention again? Seamus asked. No, are you getting ready to go to class? Let's go to class together. Remy said. Harry stared at Remy with a strange look for a while, and felt that Remy was not normal today. It's not just a little abnormal, it's extremely abnormal. What classes do you have today? Harry asked. This morning we have Professor Flitwick's Charms class. I heard that this class will start teaching real magic. I don't know if I can learn it. Neville said weakly. Charms class? Want to teach magic? Harry shuddered suddenly and became much more energetic. Remy, you don't want to perform magic in the classroom, do you? Have you forgotten about the wand shop? You are now. Don't worry, I'm not the same person I was before. I feel like I've made rapid progress in the past few days. What the hell is fast? It's only been a week, okay? No matter how fast you are, what can you do? Harry hung his head, just praying that Remy would really improve rapidly, or at least not cause an explosion in class, otherwise Gryffindor House would definitely be deducted points again. The others didn't know about Remy, and asked Harry why he was so worried about Remy using magic, and Harry patiently explained it to them. After the explanation, everyone looked at Remy with a strange look. After dinner, they came to the classroom together. Remy found that all his roommates were very far away from him, and they were even about to invade the Slytherin College area where they were taking classes together. Only Hermione, who didn't know the truth, didn't stay away on purpose. She even asked Remy if he knew what magic he was going to learn today, and talked about some small magic tricks in daily life that she had learned. Remy just smiled in response, and waited quietly for Professor Flitwick's arrival with great anticipation. Chapter 64. Professor Flitwick has a unique advantage in class, which is that when he catches students who are not paying attention, most people will not notice him approaching. For example, no one noticed when Professor Flitwick entered the classroom until he used the levitation spell to send feathers to each student, and then the students realized that Professor Flitwick had arrived. And they were all stunned and attracted by Professor Flitwick's magical ability. Today, I will formally teach you the first and simplest magic, the levitation spell. Professor Flitwick said as he stepped on a thick stack of books. The feather you were given is a practice prop. Your goal in this class is to make it fly, Professor Flitwick continued. Upon hearing that it was a practice prop, some students who had already received the feather and were ready to study it hurriedly put it down for fear of damaging it. Seeing that all the students remained quiet and looked at him expectantly, Professor Flitwick nodded with satisfaction and then took out his wand. I have already taught you the spell and the movements of waving the wand in the last class, but we practiced them separately before. Now, let's do the spell and waving the wand at the same time. Let me demonstrate first. Wingardium Leviosa. As Professor Flitwick chanted the spell and waved his wand, the feathers on the desk next to him suddenly floated in the air. After controlling the feather to dance in the air, Professor Flitwick explained the key points again, and emphasized in particular that one must not forget the final action of shaking the magic wand, and then announced that everyone could practice freely. Remy, who had been listening attentively, smiled confidently, then opened his wizard robe and took out a wand from his inner pocket, then another wand, then another wand, and then another wand. He took out 10 magic wands in one breath, and the students next to him were so stunned that they even forgot to practice. Why, do you have so many wands? Hermione asked, eyes wide. Haven't you heard a saying? What? Poor students have more stationery. With a slight smile, Remy lined up the wands and selected them, then picked up the chosen wand. God, please help me become a real wizard. Remy stroked the wand with his sword finger, and stared at the feather on the table with fixed eyes. A powerful aura rushed up into the sky and even blew his wizard robe and hair. 1 second, 2 seconds. Not to mention the classmates around, even Professor Flitwick was dumbfounded. Now! Remy suddenly let out a loud shout and waved his wand vigorously. Wingardium Leviosa! As Remy chanted the spell and waved the magic wand, the next moment, everyone was shocked to find their bodies flying uncontrollably. Not only Remy's classmates, but the entire classroom, including Professor Flitwick, was floating, including people and objects, except Remy. But the next moment... boom! Bang! Crackling ouch! I'll go! Ah! Depend on! A large group of people and objects fell down with a crackling sound, the classroom was suddenly in chaos, and the ground was a mess. Only Remy was giggling. He. I was able to improve the levitation charm into the weightlessness charm the first time I used it. I'm really a magic genius. It's just that this magic wand isn't very powerful. It seems I have to DIY one myself. Remy muttered to himself happily and then looked at Professor Flitwick, who had just gotten up, and smiled brightly. Professor Flitwick, is this considered a success? After all, you all floated up. Can you give me some extra points? Remy asked. Ah? This? Professor Flitwick looked confused. Say it failed, but it did succeed. But if we talk about success, it doesn't seem to be a success. It was successful, but not completely successful. Just barely, 5 points for Gryffindor, but don't practice anymore, or the other students won't be able to practice properly. Professor Flitwick said. Okay, no problem. Remy agreed immediately. He succeeded in his first try, why should he practice anymore? A genius like him has raised his attainments in the levitation spell to an unprecedented and unparalleled level without any practice. If you practice this diligently, will you let others survive? Be good at giving others a way out so that you can meet again in the future. Give young people a chance to catch up. Hypnotizing himself constantly in his mind, Remy happily half lying on the table at the back, watching others practice calmly. Glancing furtively at Remy, Hermione took a deep breath and began to practice. She performed the magic very smoothly, and it was obvious that it was not her first time performing it. It was obvious that she had mastered this magic long before the class. Only she wasn't happy at the moment, and seemed to be trying to make other things on the table fly, not just the feathers. But she didn't succeed until an explosion was heard in the distance. Looking at Seamus's charred face and Feather's corpse, Harry sighed heavily and covered his face with his hands. At this moment, he was full of worries about his future. It's over, Seamus has also been infected by Remy, will I be the next one? Harry thought desperately. He didn't want it to explode when he waved his wand. You have to know that he is different from Seamus and Remy, he wears glasses. If an explosion occurred and the glasses were to shatter and the lenses were to get stuck in the eyes. Oh my god, that would be too horrible. Shivering, Harry hesitated for a long time holding the wand, and finally put it down and decided to take it slow. He was really afraid that he had been infected by Remy. Compared to Harry's worry, Remy whistled at Seamus. Whoosh Seamus, congratulations on opening the door to a new world. From now on you are the explosive genius of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, said Remy. Seamus came back to his senses and exhaled a breath of black air. Black air, if I'm a blasting genius, then what are you? A blasting master. No, I'm the outlaw. The two of us can work together as mid and jungle to defeat all enemies, said Remy. Simo rolled his eyes. You know what? At that moment, his teeth and the whites of his eyes looked particularly white because of his dark face. The farce ended. Although Professor Flitwick said he could give Seamus another feather, Seamus firmly refused. It can be seen that he also has some shadows at this moment. By the end of the get out of class, less than a quarter of the students had successfully cast the levitation spell, but Professor Flitwick seemed very satisfied with the result and happily gave Hermione 10 points for perfectly casting the levitation spell. 15 points were added to a class, which made Remy suddenly realize that adding points was actually quite easy, although it was still a little more difficult than deducting points. After all, deducting points is a technical job. If it is just for causing trouble, it is the lowest reason for deducting points. Remy is too disdainful to do those unskilled jobs. If you want to play, play big. Chapter 65. In the morning, he blew up a wand in the spells class and successfully cast a 99% success rate levitation spell. In the afternoon, Remy once again successfully performed transfiguration and turned a needle into a match at the cost of a wand. But just after it turned into a match, the match also exploded. But at least it can be considered 50% successful. After that, Remy was also blacklisted by Professor McGonagall, who forbade him to continue practicing magic in the classroom. Overall, Remy had a great time in both classes today. He even ate 2 more chicken legs during dinner because of his good mood. It's a pity that he still can't beat Ronald. This guy never stops talking even when he is chatting. He is definitely a master at free meals and eating buffets. In the following time, Remy's life suddenly became extremely busy. He has many things to study, some of which are already in the final stages and some of which are just beginning. Thanks to the magic detection crystal ball, Remy suddenly had the idea to make another crystal ball that can detect the magic value in real time. In this way, Remy can clearly know the magic consumption each time when using alchemy, which greatly makes up for Remy's lack of a clear concept of magic power and greatly improves the progress of perfect alchemy. In addition to alchemy, Remy also took the time to renovate the laboratory and built a stone wall to partition the quarter near the gate. Behind the wall is the actual experimental area, while the area in front of the wall near the door is the dining area that Remy designed for Soul Bomb. Remy plans to open a psychological counseling center here in the name of helping students relieve stress, and the attending doctor is Hunden. It can eat up other people's negative emotions. There is no one more suitable to be a psychologist than it, and it can also provide them with food to eat. Remy definitely cannot do such a thing without approval. The application has been submitted to Headmaster Dumbledore, who said that he would personally experience and study it with the 4 deans before giving Remy a reply. Remy felt that this was a sure thing, so he decorated the room early, made the sign, and even printed the flyers. He could open the business immediately after the approval. These did not take up too much of Remy's time. Instead, the class assignments assigned by the professors gave Remy a headache. He felt overwhelmed just by reading the theoretical knowledge, let alone solving the problems. Remy, let me say it again, I can't possibly give you your homework to copy. Can't you do it yourself? You're so smart. After class, Hermione said as she walked quickly forward. I'm not smart at all. I'm the dumbest in Hogwarts, okay? Just copy the homework for me, please. Remy said. Hermione shook her head vigorously, her face tense the whole time, and no matter what Remy said, she refused to lend her homework to Remy to copy. Don't say anything more. I will never lend it to you to copy. You are so smart and know so much, why do you pretend to know nothing and copy my homework? I don't need you to do this to me. Hermione said. Remy. Who let you on purpose? I really can't do it. And you, Harry, Ronald, don't even think about copying my homework. Go back and do your homework well, otherwise how are you going to increase the house points for Gryffindor? Look at Remy, you're in the same dormitory, and he alone has added more points than the rest of you 4 combined, said Hermione. Harry and Ronald looked at each other, wanting to retort but having no reason, and finally could only lower their heads in shame. Remy's teeth suddenly ached even more after hearing what Hermione said. He did add more than 40 house points to Gryffindor during this period, but these points were all because he asked questions to the professor, and the professor thought that the questions raised by Remy were very good and important, so he gave him extra points. They were not obtained by answering questions at all. Okay, it seems that Hermione thinks I'm hiding my abilities because I keep adding extra points. I wonder if I can copy Gryffindor's homework if I deduct points from them in the future. Just as they were thinking about it, suddenly, Hermione, who was leading the way, let out a scream, and then the 4 of them felt the ground shaking at the same time. They quickly reached out to hold the guardrail, and then they found that the moving stairs under their feet suddenly moved, and the speed was unusually fast, at least 50% faster than usual, and the amplitude was also particularly large. What's going on? Hermione, where are you taking us? Harry asked. Where am I taking you? I'm going to the library. How would I know where you are going if you follow me? Hermione said speechlessly. But this direction doesn't lead to the library. What's going on with this staircase? How can it move such a long distance continuously? Ronald asked. Look back. Harry exclaimed, there is no way back for us. Really? And the stairs aren't moving. What's going on? Isn't it broken? It's possible, what should we do now? Wait for the professor to come. While the three were discussing, Remy looked back, then back to the platform in front of him, with a puzzled look on his face. This room. Could it be that Dumbledore is annoyed that Harry never comes here to take risks, so he controls the moving staircase to send him here directly? Thinking of this possibility, Remy suddenly felt a toothache. It would be fine to send Harry, and it would even make sense to send Ronald and Hermione together, but why bring him along as well? He had no interest in the Philosopher's Stone inside. He had long been tired of playing with that thing. To be frank, he had almost worn out the Philosopher's Stone by polishing it. Noticing Remy's strange gaze, the three of them stopped discussing and looked at the small platform above, and then their expressions became a little strange. This room seems to be... Ronald swallowed. It's the room that Principal Dumbledore mentioned at the banquet that must not be approached. It seems so. What should we do? Go up? Or continue to wait here? How about, wait a little longer? But the question is, if Filch or the professors find us at the door of this room, will they think we came here on purpose? Oh my god, if they really think that, we're doomed. We might actually be fired. Then Now that we are here, what are we hesitating about? Remy interrupted their conversation and straightened his wizard robe, then walked towards the platform first. Remy's idea was simple, since he was already here, he might as well take a look inside to see if it was the same as he remembered, so that he wouldn't be sent back again next time after he left this time. Wait a minute, Remy, Headmaster Dumbledore said this place is very dangerous. If you don't want to die miserably. Don't worry, a disaster of my level can live for at least 10,000 years. As he was talking, Remy had already reached the platform and kicked the door open violently. With a bang, the three people behind sighed helplessly and hurriedly took a few quick steps to catch up with Remy. Now, there is no retreat. Chapter 66. The dim, gloomy room was filled with a smell of decay. There were a lot of messy things on the ground, and there were many strange statues, each of which was covered with cobwebs and dust. This appears to be a utility room, Harry whispered. Nodding, Remy looked around and walked to the right where there was a not very long corridor. There were statues on both sides of the corridor, each of them had claws and fangs, and it was obvious that they were not good statues. The ground was covered with a thick layer of dust, and shoe prints were left wherever you walked on it. Remy ignored the fact that this would leave traces and walked straight to the door at the end of the corridor. The door was a bit shabby and looked like a broken door that could be broken down by a push after being ravaged by time. However, when Remy pushed it, he couldn't move it no matter what. It looks like we need a key. We might be able to find it if we look around. I think there's something strange about the statues near the entrance. Maybe the key is in one of them. Harry said, with a hint of excitement in his voice. No need, just stand back a bit. He waved his hand to signal the three to step back. In the eyes of the three people and a Mr. Dumbledore who was hiding in the distance and observing and did not want to reveal his name, Remy took out a square object that looked like a lunchbox from his crotch pocket. But at this moment no one would think that Remy took out a lunchbox, especially Harry and Hermione who grew up in the Muggle world. It's because what Remy took out was so classic that they had seen it in many TV shows and movies. Remy, what you're holding is a time bomb, right? Harry asked, swallowing. I guess so. It's just an ordinary C4 plastic bomb, but it does have a timed detonation function. Remy said without turning his head, and took out a roll of black duct tape without any delay. Harry. Really? But why would you be so dangerous? Well, even if you can get it because of family reasons, aren't you a little too calm? Just as Remy was about to attach the bomb to the door, Hermione suddenly rushed forward and grabbed Remy's arm. Are you crazy? Using a bomb to blow up the door may open it, but I guarantee that in less than a minute, all the teachers and even the principal will rush over. Then we will all be expelled. Before Remy could retort, Hermione pulled Remy away. Isn't it just opening a door? Is it necessary to make such a fuss? I'll do it. With that, Hermione took out her wand, took a deep breath, and pointed it at the keyhole on the door. Aloha hole open. As Hermione chanted the spell, the door lock clicked and then slowly opened. Okay, the door is open. Go in if you want, but there are some things I must make clear. I won't go in with you, and if you get caught, don't say I opened the door for you. Hermione turned around and looked at the three useless or unreliable men. But she didn't get the admiring look she wanted. Harry and Ronald both stared at her with wide eyes, while Remy stepped forward and held her shoulders to make her turn around. Turning around, Hermione saw a dog head that was bigger than her, baring its teeth and drooling at her. Hermione was stunned for a second, then, "Eh?" Looking at Hermione, who was running away screaming, Remy smiled slightly, thinking that Hermione was quite brave and didn't faint from the fright. What a pity! After visually estimating the size of the dog's head, Remy took out a tape measure and walked to the huge grinning dog's head to start measuring. He even lifted its mouth to measure the length of its canine teeth. Not to mention Harry and the others, even I, the big dog, was stunned by Remy's behavior. What followed was endless rage, and it felt humiliated. At this moment, its true appearance was revealed. Its 3 heads took turns attacking the door frame and kept showing its mouth full of sharp teeth. Woof 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 woof. Harry and Ronald were so scared that they stepped back to look for Hermione, but Remy looked at the 3-headed dog calmly, and even squatted in front of it, then used alchemy to create a piece of chalk and drew a slightly curved line on the ground. The attack range has been determined. Come over here. It's safe, Remy said. At first, the 3 of them still didn't dare to move forward, until they saw Remy slap the big dog and yell at it to be quiet, and the big dog couldn't attack Remy. Then the 3 of them approached cautiously. Oh my god, what kind of animal is this? Why does it have 3 heads? The legendary 3-headed dog? Why is it imprisoned here? Oh, its mouth stinks. Hermione frowned and fanned her face with her hands. If my dad were here, maybe he could have treated its teeth, if it hadn't frightened my dad. If my mother were here, she would have washed it thoroughly. It's so dirty, said Ronald. If my dad was here, he would have shot it, or used a man-portable rocket launcher, Remy said. Harry. Ronald. Hermione. Why do your parents have such a big difference in style from ours? Woo woo woo. Faced with the pointing and criticizing of the 3 little brats, the 3-headed dog shrank back with a whimper of grievance, and even hooked the door with its claws to close it. However, it was of no use. As soon as it closed the door, Remy opened it again. The 3-headed dog was about to rush forward angrily to fight for its own face, but the next moment, it suddenly froze, and its 3 heads and 6 eyes all stared at the magic crystal in Remy's hand. It seems to be working. Remy smiled slightly and drew circles in the air with the magic crystal. Little dog, do you want to eat this magic crystal? Remy asked. Crash. The waterfall drops 3,000 feet straight down. It turns out to be saliva falling from the sky. The 3 heads of the 3-headed dog nodded vigorously. If you want to eat, that's easy. Here you go. Remy threw the magic crystal high up, and while the 3 heads of the 3-headed dog were fighting for the magic crystal, he created another magic crystal. No need to fight, I have plenty here. Come here and lie down, and I will give you this magic crystal. Remy pointed to the door and said. The 3 heads of the 3-headed dog hesitated for a moment, and while they looked at each other, its body ran to the door very quickly and lay down. At this moment, the 3 heads of the 3-headed dog exploded instantly. Head number 1 in the middle, woof 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 woof. Old man, is this the body you control? You spineless dog. Head number 2 on the left, woof woof woof, woof woof. You stinky dog that gave you the food. I think it was you, the vicious dog, who complained first. Head number 3 on the right, woof woof woof, woof woof woof. You ate the magic crystal just now. We didn't even taste anything. You must have sold us out after tasting the sweetness. Head number 1 in the middle, woof 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 woof. Chapter 67. When dogs bite each other, both get a mouthful of fur. It wasn't until today that Remy truly felt how sweet and true this sentence was. After just watching for a while, Remy felt it was too noisy. Bang bang bang. For 3 consecutive times, Remy used a combination of positive and negative yin-yang slaps and head slaps, giving them a slap on the head. Be quiet. Do you hear me? Remy yelled. The 3 heads fell silent at the same time, and then, they became even noisier. Middle head number 1, woof 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 woof. He still said you 2 didn't betray me? Why did you listen to him? Head number 2 on the left, woof woof woof, woof woof. You dog, don't you listen to him just as well? We only listen to him because we see you are obedient. Head number 3 on the right, woof woof, woof 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 woof. That's right, we all keep quiet because you are quiet, boss. Middle head number 1, woof woof woof. Woof 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 woof. Bullshit. I'm only quiet to appease you. Right head number 3, woof woof, woof woof. Is there a possibility, possibility, that all three of us have betrayed? Left head number 2, woof woof. Woof woof woof. Woof woof woof. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. If all three of us betrayed, would it still be called betrayal? Middle head number 1, woof woof. Woof 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 woof. Yes, number 2 is right, none of us have betrayed. Just when Remy couldn't stand the noise anymore and was about to beat up the 3 dog heads again, the dog head in the middle barked twice, and the 3 heads became quiet at the same time and stared at Remy, at the magic crystal in his hand. Did the argument produce any results? Remy raised his eyebrows and drew circles in the air again with the magic crystal. So who should I give it to first? As soon as Remy finished speaking, the 3 heads immediately began to compete frantically in front of the narrow door. The door is too small and their heads are too big. Sometimes the middle head occupies most of the space, with the remaining 2 heads revealing a little bit of their mouths. Sometimes the left and right heads each reveal half of their faces, squeezing the middle head on top with only the chin exposed. 3 heads were playing with permutations and combinations behind the small door frame. Stop snatching! Everyone, step back! Remy shouted, and the 3 heads of the 3-headed dog stopped at the same time, and then the body retreated. What Remy did next completely shocked Harry and the other 2. Remy actually walked directly into the room where the 3-headed dog was locked up. It wasn't until Remy went in and commanded the 3-headed dog to lie down that Harry and the other 2 came to their senses. Gudong Harry swallowed to calm himself, licked his lips, and suddenly felt extremely complicated. Terror, fear, envy, desire. For some reason at this moment, Harry suddenly wanted to be as unrestrained as Remy. But the remaining rationality in his heart kept telling him, no. Harry, this little dog seems to be guarding the trapdoor here. Are you interested in coming down with me to take a look? Remy patted the dog's head and pointed to the trapdoor on the ground and said to Harry. Before Harry could reply, the 3-headed dog suddenly whined twice, then ran to the trapdoor and completely covered it with its body. This act of self-incrimination immediately made Harry and the other 2, who had not thought much of it, become extremely curious about the world beneath the trapdoor. What? You want to stop me from entering the trapdoor? Remy turned around and looked at the 3-headed dog and asked. 3 heads nodded at the same time and barked twice. But Remy doesn't speak in a dog accent, so I can't understand what it is saying at all. But the impact is not significant. So you do have a lot of professional ethics, but I want to see how many magic crystals your integrity is worth. With a scornful smile, Remy raised his hand to create a magic crystal and waved it in front of the 3-headed dog, then threw it into the innermost corner. The 3 heads of the 3-headed dog turned at the same time, and even bumped into each other because they turned too fast, but the body did not move with it. Okay, I'll add one more. As he spoke, Remy created another magic crystal and threw it into the corner. Then, another one. Another one. Ding ding dong dong. Listening to the sound of magic crystals falling to the ground, watching them rolling on the ground, and smelling the ultimate fragrance they emitted, the 3-headed dog let out a whimpering sound. Its 3 heads were buried tightly together, and its body was shaking constantly. Seeing it like this, Remy smiled slightly. Oh, there are so many magic crystals. Since you don't want them, I'll take them back. I'll use them to make tea later. As he spoke, Remy stretched, moved his arms and legs, and then slowly walked to the corner. The 3-headed dog suddenly raised its head, and then suddenly created a gust of wind and rushed in front of Remy to stop Remy, and then bang! 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 There were 3 consecutive sounds. It seemed that the 3-headed dog was rushing too fast, and its 3 heads hit the wall one after another. Staggering and swaying, the 3-headed dog fell to the corner with a thud, just crushing all the magic crystals under its body. Yo-hoi! Did you faint? Remy took out a magic wand from his pocket and poked the 3-headed dog's butt. The 3-headed dog didn't react at all, probably because Remy didn't poke its vital parts. Witnessing everything that happened in the room, Harry walked into the room without waiting for Remy to call him, followed by Hermione and Ronald. After observing the 3-headed dog carefully for a while, with Harry even reaching out to touch its tail, the 4 of them opened the trapdoor in the middle of the room. There was no staircase under the trapdoor, only a dark, bottomless hole that looked like a shaft. It seems very deep. Harry was about to say something when he found that Remy had already taken out a bundle of ropes and tied one end around the three-headed dog's neck. "Ah, are you really going down?" Ronald asked. "Since we're here now, it would be a waste if we don't go down. But I have nothing to lose, do I? It's not a big deal, but I've lost, Principal Dumbledore, why are you here?" Remy was stunned for a moment, then, continued to tie the rope. "The work is only half done, how can we give up halfway?" Dumbledore glanced at Remy helplessly, then looked at Harry and the other two who were so nervous that they were speechless. "This is not the place you should be. Are you lost? Or, were you called here by Remy? I saw he even prepared the rope in advance." Dumbledore asked. "I have prepared a lot of things." Remy said first, "Do you believe that even if I were thrown into the Forbidden Forest to survive in the wilderness, I could build a modern city with my own hands? And very quickly." Dumbledore. "I don't even know how to refute what you said." In desperation, Dumbledore had to change the subject. "You may not remember what I said at the entrance ceremony. I can forgive you this time. Now, go back to your dormitory and have a good rest. It's very dangerous here," Dumbledore said. Harry and the other two breathed a sigh of relief, but they didn't expect Remy to sabotage Dumbledore again. "What's the danger here? This little dog? Can't you see I already took care of it?" Chapter 68. Remy was very angry, because Dumbledore's sudden appearance reminded Remy of a classic line from a certain emergency reserve ration: "The area ahead is too dangerous, let's explore it later. Besides, the spare ration has a cute voice and looks adorable too." What does Dumbledore have? He lost too much. I have helped the school solve the danger here. You don't need to thank me too much. Just give me a 180-point bonus," Remy said. Dumbledore looked at Remy speechlessly, thinking, "If I wasn't worried about scaring Harry and causing him to not come again, I would have deducted 180 points from you. But Remy seems a little different today. Does he know something?" Thinking of this, Dumbledore decided to shut Remy up first. "I am considering your application carefully," said Dumbledore. "Apply? What application? When will I? Oh, okay, I get it." Remy suddenly realized what he had submitted and quickly shut up. He untied the rope and walked obediently to stand beside Ronald. "You can go back, but remember, if I see you coming here again next time, you will be committing a crime knowingly and I will definitely deduct points from you," said Dumbledore. "Yes, we'll go back now. Actually, Headmaster Dumbledore, we were forced to come in because the portable staircase was broken." "Yes, the moving staircase suddenly moved and brought us here, and then it stopped moving." Listening to the explanations of several people, Dumbledore nodded calmly, "Is that so? I will have someone inspect it later. Those stairs are antiques, and it is indeed time for a comprehensive inspection." Remy's eyes suddenly lit up. "Principal, leave this job to me. I can definitely design and create a set of cool and fun passages," said Remy. "Leave it to you? If I leave it to you, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry will be history tomorrow." Glancing at Remy, Dumbledore drove them out. This time the moving stairs did not cause them any more trouble, and the four of them quickly left and returned to the Gryffindor dormitory building. Entering the common room, Harry and the other two breathed a sigh of relief and then began a heated discussion about the world below the trapdoor. Remy, whose interest was dampened by Dumbledore, did not participate. He just chatted briefly and then went back to the dormitory to feed the birds. He had lost interest in the secret room. It was as if the happy time was suddenly interrupted and one entered directly into a state of saintliness like a Buddha. After that, life returned to normal again. "Every day I went to class, ate and slept. It was simple and boring." In order to complete several difficult experiments, Remy even stopped his daily experiments in order to stockpile magic crystals. There were two small incidents in the middle. First of all, the Psychological Counseling Center was officially opened for business, and it was directly promoted by the principal, but it is currently only open to students in grade 3 and above. The response was quite good, especially from the single seniors, who all wanted to go there every day, which made Remy seriously suspect that they were treating the Psychological Counseling Center as a foot massage parlor. Although Headmaster Dumbledore said that the Psychological Counseling Center was only open to students in the 3rd year and above, Harry and the other two often came to play under the leadership of Remy. When they first saw the soul bomb, the three of them were very nervous, especially Harry and Ronald, who were not only nervous but also a little shy. When the soul bomb was treating them, perhaps because the soul bomb in a wedding dress was too close to them, their faces turned red like red apples. And since then, the two of them would often suddenly complain that they were troubled recently and under too much pressure from studying, and clearly hinted to Remy to take them to a psychological counseling center for psychological counseling. Remy was too lazy to expose their little thoughts, and was even looking forward to their expressions when they saw the complete soul bullet. It was a pity that Remy didn't stop them. Headmaster Dumbledore stopped them. Perhaps it was because Remy saw Harry being obsessed with psychological counseling and being so happy all day long without any sense of crisis or urgency, that when Remy took them to the psychological counseling center for the 5th time, he saw Principal Dumbledore as soon as he entered the door. As a result, the 3 people were deducted 10 points each, and were told that if they came again next time, 20 points would be deducted each. This scared Harry and Ronald, and they never asked Remy for help again. The other thing is more embarrassing. Because Hermione wouldn't lend him their homework, and he hated the poor writing of Harry and the others, he found a top student from Ravenclaw College to copy their homework. It was the first time Remy copied homework. In a moment of excitement, he copied his name on it. It happened to be the homework assigned by Professor McGonagall. As a result, Remy was exposed by Professor McGonagall in class and was deducted 20 house points at once. Since then, Remy has learned his lesson, reflected deeply, turned over a new leaf, and never copied the homework of that Ravenclaw nerd again. Change to copying the homework of 5 top students at the same time. After patching up the 5 materials, even Professor McGonagall couldn't tell that they were plagiarized. Very nice. Occasionally I would walk out of the castle to feed the little squirrel and go fishing. My life was so comfortable. It wasn't until Harry received a package containing the latest model of flying broom, the Nimbus 2000, that Remy decided to stop hoarding rats for the time being and make the flying broom that he had promised Harry before. It needs to be able to fly, control it freely, be fast and flexible, and be comfortable to ride. This is a big challenge for Remy, and its difficulty is definitely higher than that of the magic gloves. It took Remy 3 full days just to come up with the module functions, and then he spent a full week considering the appearance before finalizing the first version. This is just the preliminary preparation work. When we officially start refining, there are endless troubles, with problems appearing here or there. What's even worse is that after finally manufacturing all the modules, they failed when using alchemy to fuse them into the finished product. Remy was in a very bad mood at that time. Fortunately, he had the help of the soul bomb, otherwise he would have been sulking for many days. Starting from scratch again, this time Remy made 10 of each module in one go, enough for 9 failures. Sweetly, it worked on the first try, and Remy was almost mad to death. Fortunately, it was finally successful. Remy had no plans to mass-produce this product, so he did not continue experimenting with reducing costs. It happened to be the weekend, and Harry was training on the field with other Quidditch players. Remy came to the tallest tower of Hogwarts Castle with a brand new flying broom, ready to give Harry and the others a huge surprise that fell from the sky. Southwest wind level 2, good visibility, everything is ready for takeoff. Mumbling to himself some incomprehensible words, Remy put on his goggles, mounted his homemade flying broom, and aimed at the Quidditch pitch in the distance. 5 4 3 2 1 Ignition. Emission, boom. Chapter 69. Harry, you have to remember that you are the Seeker. You only need to keep an eye on the snitch. We will take care of the other balls. But, if this happens, won't I be left with nothing to do for a long time after the game starts? Can't I get a few more points by helping out during this time? If the golden snitch appears between you and the opponent's Seeker, or even right next to him, by the time you react, the opponent may have already caught the golden snitch and the game is over. You know, you only get 10 points for helping to score 1 goal, but you can get 150 points for catching the golden snitch. Can you help to score 15 goals in such a short time? Don't lose the big picture for the small. Okay, I get it. From now on I will do as you say and just keep an eye on. Boom. Before Harry could finish his words, there was a loud bang and the Quidditch pitch, which was paved with fine sand, suddenly started to blow up into the sky. Captain Wood quickly protected Harry behind him, but unfortunately he didn't have a wand with him at the moment, so he could only hold the broom across his body, which looked a little funny. A broomstick can't cast spells, nor can it prevent dust, but it can stir up sand. What happened? An air raid? Harry asked, eyes wide. The glasses he was wearing at the moment actually blocked a lot of wind and sand for him, and with Wood blocking in front of him, Harry was still able to keep his eyes open freely. "Probably, be careful," Wood said. "What should we do then? Should we go and inform Headmaster Dumbledore right now? Notify Headmaster Dumbledore? This is not the first time that such a small matter does not need to be reported to Headmaster Dumbledore." "What? Didn't Voldemort disappear a long time ago? What do you mean by Volt?" "Oh, I think you misunderstood. I just meant that the Slytherin team has competed with us for the court more than once." "Harry. Chow, I thought it was Voldemort calling. If it was just the Slytherin team." Harry tightened his grip on the broom, his blood boiling as he prepared to fight at any moment. While the two were talking, the sand gradually fell back to the ground, and then they saw a man struggling to climb out of the sand pit. But the sand pit was a little deep, and the man would slide down again every time he poked his head out. "Remy." Harry was stunned for a moment and ran over quickly. Arriving at the edge of the pit, Harry was about to say something, but when he saw what Remy was using as a trekking pole, his heart skipped a beat. Remy was holding a white, elongated cylindrical pillar in his hand, with protruding flying wings at the bottom. Looking at this thing, Harry couldn't help but think of a weapon he had seen on TV, a missile. "Remy, you, grunt, what is that in your hand?" Harry asked. "Ah? You mean this? This is the broom I specially made for you." Remy shook the flying broom in his hand and said happily. "Did you see how I came here just now? You must not have seen it, right? Let me tell you, this thing is super fast." "Harry. I sure didn't see how you came, but now I know how you landed. This is not a flying broom, it's clearly a mobile coffin. And who plays Quidditch on this thing?" Ouch! Accidentally slipping again, Remy had to hand the broom to Harry and asked for help. "Give me a hand, pull me up." "Didn't you say this was a broom? Can't you just fly up? It doesn't look broken to me." Wood walked over and looked at the broom in Remy's hand curiously. "Oh yes. This is a flying broom in my hand." Remy suddenly realized what was going on and quickly got on his broomstick. Under the shocked gazes of Harry and Wood, they saw an extremely exaggerated ball of fire spurting out from the tail of the broom that Remy was riding. But the sand that came into contact with the flames was not harmed at all. Remy was seen riding a broomstick and slowly rising into the air. About a second later, whoosh! Bang! Harry and Wood shuddered at the same time and turned around to look back, just in time to see Remy falling from the goal post. Wood reacted quickly and immediately got on the flying broom. The next moment, a gust of wind blew past him. Wood was stunned for a moment, then slowly turned his head, only to see a long, deep trench plowed out on the sand of the court leading straight to the edge of the court, and Remy was on the wall at the edge of the court, using a broomstick as a crowbar to pry himself out in a weird posture. "Your friend is really resistant to collisions." Wood looked at Harry with shining eyes. "I think he is a perfect candidate to be a goalkeeper." "How is his flying skill?" "If his flying skill is good, he can also be a batsman." "Harry. Have you also been assimilated and become unreliable? With Remy's current performance, aren't you worried that he might knock the referee to death?" "I don't know, but Remy doesn't seem to have any interest in Quidditch," Harry said, shaking his head. "How is this possible?" Wood stared at Harry with eyes wide open in disbelief. "How can there be a wizard who is not interested in Quidditch?" Remy said that Quidditch without wands and spells is meaningless. Real wizards should ride on brooms and cast spells, Harry said. "Well, okay, but that would be a bit too dangerous," said Wood. While they were discussing, Remy came jogging over with his broomstick. Coming in front of the two, Remy stuck his broom into the ground and shook his hair vigorously. "How is it? Quick? Are you excited?" Remy asked. Harry and Wood exchanged a glance. Wood thought for a moment. "Don't you think it's a little too fast? You probably can't control it at all." "Oh, I'm not a genius seeker, I can't do it, but Harry can," said Remy. "No, no, no." Harry quickly waved his hand to refuse. "I can't do that either. I'm not as resistant to collisions as you." My goodness, with the speed this broom just demonstrated, if he really used this broom, if he made even one mistake he would definitely be reunited with his parents. He hasn't lived enough. What's more, he didn't think this thing was a flying broom. "Don't worry, the speed of this flying broom can be adjusted." Remy reached out and patted the flying broom standing next to him, his face becoming serious. "Let me formally introduce to you my latest invention, the super flying broom, Skyrocket 1, said Remy. Harry. Why does this name sound a bit strange? Its overall weight is 10 kilograms. Although it sounds a bit heavy, it's not slow at all. The top speed is as high as Mach 5. Harry. How many? Chapter 70. Mach 5. Harry, who only had an elementary school education, didn't know how fast the unit Mach was, but he remembered that when he saw this word on TV, it was usually used to describe the speed of missiles. That must be pretty fast. So this is still a missile, right? It must be. Just as Harry was about to ask the question in his mind, he heard Remy continue his introduction. The skyrocketing monkey one is not only fast, it also has many other very unique functions, such as... As he said that, Remy pulled out the skyrocket one and rode on it. They hadn't noticed Remy when he was at the bottom of the pit, but now that they were closer, they immediately noticed something unusual. When Remy rode on the skyrocket one, a seat suddenly appeared where Remy's butt was, and at the same time, a space for legs was formed on both sides of the back half. For example, this hidden broom stand can not only be hidden at ordinary times, but the material is also very exquisite. Its surface is made of fake cowhide imported from the Netherlands, and it is filled with very soft and comfortable memory foam that can automatically change its shape according to the shape of the buttocks, providing an excellent riding experience. Fake leather imported from the Netherlands? Butt shape? Harry, who was originally very curious about this seat, had a lot of complaints to express after listening to Remy's introduction. And this, after pressing this button, you can turn on the automatic avoidance function, which can effectively avoid all obstacles. I seem to have forgotten to turn it on just now. Remy scratched his head and said a little depressed. It's not just looks, you definitely didn't open it. Harry complained in his mind. And this is my most proud feature. As he spoke, Remy pressed the button above, and a ball of white light suddenly appeared on the top of skyrocket number 1. This is the automatic search function. You just need to put the object you want to track in this light ball and record it. It will automatically chase the target. It uses magic guidance, with an error of no more than half a meter, and an effective killing radius of 1 kilometer. Ahem, no, I said it wrong, the search radius is 1 kilometer. As long as the golden snitch is recorded and appears within a kilometer of it, it will automatically catch up with the golden snitch and fly parallel to the golden snitch at the same speed and half a meter away. The seeker only needs to hold on tight and don't fall off, then just reach out to the right and the golden snitch will be caught. How about it? Harry, do you want to try it? With it, I guarantee that as long as the golden snitch appears on the court, it will take less than 0.01 seconds for you to appear next to the golden snitch. Then, as long as you stretch your hand fast enough, you can end the whole game in 1 second and become the most handsome guy on the court. Harry's eyes lit up, but then he frowned. Will this thing be considered cheating? Harry looked at Wood and asked. Wood thought about it for a moment, shook his head, and then nodded. If it really has this function, even if you can use it to win a game now, it will be banned soon because its function affects fairness too much, said Wood. Fair? What is that? Can you eat it? Remy curled his lips in disdain. Some people are born taller than others, and some are born faster than others. Wizards of noble birth have been exposed to Quidditch since childhood, not to mention that it affects fairness. How can it affect fairness if a peasant like me makes a super flying broom by myself? Come on, Harry, try it first to see if it works. As he said that, Remy put the skyrocket number 1 into Harry's hand, and Harry hesitated. You better turn on that automatic avoidance function for me first, otherwise I won't dare to try it. Harry said. If there was no automatic avoidance function, Harry would have refused the experiment without a second thought. But now, he really wanted to experience this flying broom that Remy had blown up into the sky, which did not look like a flying broom either in appearance or function. Okay, automatic avoidance has been turned on. Look, the indicator light is on. By the way, do you want to try the automatic search function together? Remy asked after pressing the button. This. Harry looked at Wood. Captain, can you give me a golden snitch to use? I want to help Remy experiment. Wood thought for a moment and nodded, then walked to a box not far away, opened the box and took out a golden snitch from it. After registering the golden snitch in the enemy detection system, Remy nodded to Harry. Its basic functions are the same as those of a normal broomstick. Now you can try it out. Remy casually released the golden snitch and walked over to Wood and waited for Harry to start his performance. Harry took a deep breath and controlled Skyrocket 1 to ignite and take off. Harry felt it was magical. Although the flames were clearly emitted from the tail of Skyrocket 1, it could still hover in the air horizontally like an ordinary flying broom. It's just because the tail flame of Rocket number 1 is fake, it's just a special effect, not real flame. Slowly rising into the air, Harry looked at the golden snitch flying quickly in the air, hesitated for a moment, and then pressed the automatic search button. The next moment, whoosh! I only hear the voice but don't see the person. One could just barely see a black shadow sticking closely to the golden snitch and moving quickly with it, up and down, left and right. About 10 seconds later, a black shadow was suddenly thrown out and fell rapidly. Seeing this, Wood hurriedly rode on his flying broom to catch it. How is it? Is it always half a meter away from the golden snitch? Remy asked. I don't know. I'm vomiting now. Before he could finish his words, Harry fell to the ground and vomited violently. Not to mention the overnight meal, he was even about to vomit out his gallbladder. Ahem. It was really too fast, and it was shaking all the time, I didn't even open my eyes. After that, Harry lowered his head and began to retch again. It's okay. It's your first time. It's inevitable that you can't adapt to the fast speed and feel a little uncomfortable. You will get used to it after a few times. Remy said. Wood on the side. I suspect you were driving, but I have no proof. He walked to the box speechlessly to recall the golden snitch. The next moment Wood was shocked to see that not only the golden snitch came back, but also a tracking missile following the golden snitch closely. Fortunately, Remy snapped his fingers at this time, and Monkey King number 1 instantly changed direction and rushed towards Remy and returned to Remy's side. It seems that I have to give it an automatic explosion after the man-machine separation within 10 meters, ahem, I mean the automatic return function, to prevent it from accidentally dropping when in use and forgetting to actively summon it due to panic. Remy said, looking at the skyrocket monkey number 1 in his hand. Hearing Remy's words, Wood looked hesitant. After putting the golden snitch back into the box, Wood walked up to Remy. Remy, I'm really impressed by the speed and agility your Skyrocket 1 just demonstrated. I wonder if you can. You want it? No way, I made this specially for Harry. No, I mean, can you remove all other functions and only keep speed and flexibility? Remy. Just speed and flexibility? Don't want automatic enemy tracking anymore? What kind of behavior is this of buying the box and returning the pearl? Chapter 71. Harry and Wood tried their best to persuade Remy, and Wood even took out a 20-centimeter thick Quidditch rules book for Remy to read. Finally, Remy reluctantly agreed to make Harry a Rocket 2 with only high speed and high flexibility. However, Remy flatly rejected Harry's suggestion to change the appearance to that of a normal flying broom. Do you know what aerodynamic shape is? Do you know what air resistance is? Do you know what fluid mechanics is? Do you understand science? Without this shape, there would be no such speed, said Remy. Even though he wanted to say that this was a magical world and there was no need to talk about science, and Harry was also 80% sure that Remy was talking nonsense, but seeing Remy was so persistent, Harry had no choice but to give in order to get a super fast flying broom. After confirming all the requirements, Remy returned to the laboratory and produced the Rocketeer number 2 in a short time. After helping Harry adjust the maximum speed, Harry, who had already been bruised and battered in the test drive, finally smiled. Although he got a new flying broom, Harry still used the Nimbus 2000 for more training afterwards, allegedly for the sake of confidentiality. But this has nothing to do with Remy. After making a flying broom for Harry, Remy once again turned on the hoarding mode and accumulated the magic crystals needed for his big plan. As time went by, the weather became colder and colder, and soon turned from cool to cold. Along with the cold air come pumpkin lanterns and dinners. Halloween is here. In the auditorium where the entrance ceremony was held, many students gathered together again. When Headmaster Dumbledore announced that the new house statistical system would be officially implemented from tomorrow, some were happy while others were sad. The happiest class was undoubtedly Gryffindor, because they had been deducted quite a lot of points, but few people remembered that they had also received a lot of extra points. People are always like this. They can't remember much of the happy times, but they can remember the pain and regrets for a lifetime. This is also the sadness of human beings. But soon, when the food was served, all the students put aside their worries and joined the eating team, happily enjoying the sumptuous meal. Looking at Hermione, who was also on the list, Remy suddenly became curious whether the troll would arrive as promised. As promised is a beautiful word. Seeing this word will make people involuntarily recall beautiful scenes, such as a man in a headscarf singing "I stumble towards you" and running into the auditorium door in a panic like a girl with a fluttering heart. Troll. In the basement, thought you ought to know. After saying that, Professor Quirrell fell to the ground with a thud, and coincidentally fell right next to Remy. Remy was stunned at first, then he stood up with a serious face and squatted next to Professor Quirrell. The young wizards, who had been frightened by Professor Quirrell's words, calmed down after seeing Remy's strange behavior and looked at Remy curiously, not knowing what Remy was going to do. Turning Professor Quirrell over, Remy stroked his eyelids, felt his breath, and lifted his wrist to feel his pulse. After the whole process was completed, Remy nodded in satisfaction, then stood up, snapped to attention and saluted Dumbledore in the professor's chair. Reporting to Headmaster Dumbledore, after my preliminary diagnosis, he is dead. Please allow me to take him out for cremation, even on the spot. Remy said loudly. Dumbledore on the stage, Quirrell on the ground, and Voldemort behind the head all twitched their mouths at the same time. Remy, I think Professor Quirrell just fainted. Help him to his seat and let him rest. Dumbledore had just finished speaking when Remy raised his foot and kicked Professor Quirrell in the back of the head. With a scream, Professor Quirrell jumped up. Reporting to Headmaster Dumbledore, Professor Quirrell has come back to life after my treatment. Remy said with a serious face. The whole auditorium suddenly fell into an eerie silence until a pop sound was heard from somewhere, and the auditorium was instantly filled with a joyful atmosphere. Dumbledore came to his senses and speechlessly covered his face with his hands, while at the same time hiding the corners of his mouth that were rising uncontrollably. After about 2 seconds, Dumbledore tapped the large gold Ivco cup on the table with his spoon, sending up a cloud of ashes. Be quiet. The presidents and prefects of each college, take your classmates back to the dormitories first. Other professors. Reporting to Headmaster Dumbledore, I think students should not be allowed to leave the auditorium without knowing the exact location of the troll, so as to avoid a head-on collision with the troll. Students should stay in the auditorium now, and professors are also required to stay here to protect the students. I will deal with the troll. Remy said loudly. Dumbledore was stunned at first, then he thought about it and felt that what Remy said made sense, except for the last sentence. But, glancing at Professor Quirrell, who was looking down pitifully, Dumbledore thought for a moment and then looked at Remy. It's very courageous of you to volunteer to deal with the troll, but the troll is not something you students can deal with. Let me put it this way, Professor Quirrell, are you feeling better now? Can you go and deal with the troll? Dumbledore turned to look at Professor Quirrell and asked. Before Quirrell could answer, Remy spoke first, reporting to Headmaster Dumbledore, it is obvious that if Professor Quirrell was capable of dealing with the troll, he would not have come here in such a panic to report. By the way, from which underwater sewer did you recruit such a poor defense against the dark arts professor? You can't even deal with a troll, and you have the nerve to teach the dark arts at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. It teaches defense against the dark arts. Dumbledore corrected, Professor Flitwick, Professor Snape, the two of you go deal with the troll, is that okay? Deal with the troll? Okay, no problem, said Professor Flitwick. Professor Snape nodded coolly, stood up, threw his wizard robe handsomely, and walked towards the door of the auditorium. Oh, Severus, don't walk so fast. Professor Flitwick said this while twiddling his short legs quickly, his wand in his hand itching to strike Snape. Remy, where are you going? Dumbledore suddenly said. Remy, who was crouching towards the door, stopped and smiled awkwardly. Close the door, I'll go close it to prevent the giant monster from rushing in. Well, this is indeed a point I have not considered carefully. 10 points for Gryffindor, and 10 points for the suggestion just now. Mr. Filch, close the door, shut it shut, said Dumbledore. Snort. Remy curled his lips and thought, you want to bribe me with just 20 points? You have to pay more. Principal Dumbledore, I just brought Professor Quirrell back to life after he died. I saved a professor's life. Won't you give me extra points? Remy asked. Quirrell's mouth twitched suddenly. Are you saving me? I think you are clearly taking the opportunity to do something dirty to me, Foot. Chapter 72. Quirrell couldn't figure out how he had offended Remy, he only knew that his plan today had failed. Not only did his plan fail, but he was also hit on the back of his head. Oh my god, he didn't even dare to think about how his master would punish him when he returned. This made Quirrell look very listless and confused. But the students around him were more tactless than the other. Seeing him like this, no one comforted him or even offered him a glass of water. Instead, they all looked at him with scrutiny. Especially Harry next to him. Harry was not stupid, he was very sharp to realize that Remy seemed to be deliberately targeting Quirrell. Because although Remy is usually unreliable and often does some weird things, he would never be so rude as to hit someone directly. Harry wondered why Remy was targeting Professor Quirrell, who looked so bad. Yes, it's really bad. Look at Professor Flitwick. Even though he was less than 5 feet tall, he not only did not refuse to deal with the troll, but was very happy. Professor Snape also set off without hesitation. Look at the Professor of Defense against the Dark Arts class. He was so frightened that he was almost scared to death. If it weren't for Remy's timely treatment, he might still be lying there. Not to mention the strong garlic smell on him, sitting next to him was like sitting in a gas chamber. Remy even exaggeratedly wore a gas mask. When seeing Remy selling gas masks to people around him, Headmaster Dumbledore couldn't bear to watch it anymore and called Professor Quirrell up to let him have a good rest in the professor's seat. This made Quirrell feel even worse. He didn't think he had any chance of doing anything under Dumbledore's nose. The dinner continued. The young wizards ate and drank, and even had a heated discussion and bet on which of the 2 professors who were away could defeat the troll first. Although the young wizards didn't know how powerful the 2 professors were, no one doubted that they could not defeat the troll because they were so confident before they left. Among the 4 major houses, Gryffindor House had the most heated discussions. On the one hand, the little lions, who generally love adventure, are very interested in fighting giant monsters. On the other hand, the new College Cup has just begun, and they have already received 25 extra points. Well, for saving Professor Quirrell in time, Dumbledore gave Remy 5 extra points, after obtaining Professor Quirrell's consent. Amomum Villisum Pigheart belongs to. The second most heated discussion was from Slytherin House, who believed that their head of house would definitely defeat the troll in the end. This made the students of Ravenclaw House, who always focused on studying and didn't join in the quarrel, very unhappy. They felt that Slytherin was belittling their head of house, so the students of the 2 houses had a friendly exchange across the Gryffindor House table. About half an hour later, Professor Snape and Professor Flitwick opened the door and returned to the Great Hall. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the 2 simply nodded to Headmaster Dumbledore without saying a word to indicate that their mission was accomplished, and then returned to their seats to eat and drink. Who defeated the giant monster? Nobody knows. Maybe Dumbledore and the other professors knew, but no professor ever gave an answer afterwards. This question has also become an unsolved mystery of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. The weather becomes colder as November approaches, but it also brings romance to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. When the first snowflake fell, Remy changed his job again and stopped being a hoarder. He spent every day writing, drawing, and arranging experimental plans. This made his roommates very curious, but no matter how they asked, Remy just wouldn't say. After entering November, Harry became extremely busy and had to go out for training almost every day. Others were just as busy, except they were doing their homework. Maybe it was because it was near the end of the semester, the professors were assigning assignments one after another, one more difficult than the other, as if they were rushing to achieve performance, making the little wizards miserable. After another heavy snowfall, Hogwarts Castle was dressed in thick white winter clothes, and the Quidditch game officially began. The young wizards, who had been depressed by heavy homework for a long time, happily rushed to the Quidditch field to watch the game, and many of them even made their own cheering flags. Remy also arrived at the auditorium early with the students of Gryffindor College and occupied a favorable position. Unlike others who were looking forward to Gryffindor House's ranking moving up one place, Remy just wanted to see Harry riding on the skyrocketer too and killing people. It's a pity that Harry is unwilling to use Monkey King 1, otherwise Harry would only need to be responsible for GAGA, and Monkey King 1 can kill indiscriminately on its own. This made Remy feel deeply regretful. But when Harry appeared on the stage riding on the Skyrocket 2 and heard the lively discussions among the people around him, Remy instantly forgot about that regret. I'm Chow. Missiles. Are you kidding me? Harry is riding that thing. Isn't he afraid of it exploding? What is that? Is that a broomstick too? Harry's broomstick can actually breathe fire. It's just so cool. What model of broomstick is this? Is it the latest model? I must buy one next year. What a beautiful design, simple and elegant, I love it. As the discussion went on, suddenly, everyone's eyes shifted from Harry to Remy. Their intuition told them that Remy was probably the only person in the entire Hogwarts who could come up with such an unreliable thing. Then, everyone looked towards the teaching desk. They wanted to know what Headmaster Dumbledore thought about this matter. In the teacher's seat, even though Dumbledore had heard that Remy had made a brand new flying broom for Harry, his eyes still jumped when he saw the flying broom with his own eyes. It was really outrageous. Even if it didn't explode, its shape alone was a huge deterrent to Muggle-born wizards. Fortunately, Gryffindor's opponent this time was Slytherin, where there were almost no Muggle-born wizards, and most of them were half-blood. It seems that we need to add a rule to the rules of Quidditch games in the future to restrict the shape of flying brooms. Otherwise, who knows? Remy might come up with some weird-looking flying brooms. Dumbledore said to Professor McGonagall beside him. Professor McGonagall smiled and shook her head. It would be better to just stipulate that only a certain type of broomstick can be used. But I think there will be many people who disagree, especially those wealthy pure-blood families. Dumbledore thought about it and agreed. Since there were no regulations or restrictions on the performance of a broomstick, what did it matter if it was just a shape? Besides, at least for now, the flying broom made by Remy is still a thin and long stick as a whole. This must be strongly supported, lest one day Remy suddenly makes an idea and makes an airplane and insists that it is also a flying broom. That's what we call disrupting the balance. Chapter 73. In the teacher's seats on the Quidditch field, Quirrell's eyes flashed with a fierce light as he watched Harry hovering in the air like an eagle, surveying the entire field. Last time, because he acted on his own and failed, he was severely punished by Voldemort. This time, he must take the opportunity to restore his image in Voldemort's heart. If I can interfere with Harry's broomstick and make him fall and get hurt or even die, Lord Voldemort will definitely look upon me with new eyes. When the time comes, Lord Voldemort will surely. Just as he was thinking about it, suddenly, a scream woke Quirrell up from his why. Suddenly the golden snitch appeared. The location where the golden snitch appeared was closer to the Slytherin Seeker. The Slytherin Seeker was delighted and quickly drove his broomstick to chase the golden snitch. Shortly after he started, he heard a whoosh and a red figure flashed past him. When the red figure stopped, he raised one hand high, holding a golden snitch in his hand. The entire Quidditch field suddenly fell into an eerie silence. After 3 full seconds of silence, the stadium was filled with cheers. It's Harry. Harry did it. Oh my god, this is too fast, isn't it? Cheating. It must be cheating. How can a broomstick be so fast? That's amazing. I must buy the same broomstick as Harry. Can anyone tell me the model number? The shape and color scheme look a bit like a Patriot missile. Patriot missile? Why doesn't this name sound like a flying broom? It wasn't meant to be, right? So cool. Harry is so amazing. How long has it been since the show started? Gryffindor wins. We win. Marvelous. Quirrell looked at Harry, who was enjoying the warm applause in the field with a confused look on his face, thinking, I haven't even started yet, the game is already over? Give up? What about my image in Voldemort's eyes? No. I have to act today. Quirrell gritted his teeth and looked around, suddenly feeling that now was actually a good opportunity to take action, or even a better opportunity. Everyone's attention was on Harry, and Harry was hovering in the air without moving. It was a godsend. With his eyes fixed on the broomstick Harry was riding, Quirrell took a deep breath and began to cast a curse while mumbling something. As Quirrell began to cast the evil spell, Harry was seen riding his broom, circling the field and landing smoothly. Quirrell lowered his head and stared at his hands in disbelief. What's wrong with me? Can't even cast a curse? Could it be that because I played dumb all day long, I actually integrated into the segment? At this moment, Quirrell fell into deep self-doubt and even pondered the meaning of life. Great! Harry, you caught the snitch so quickly. You must not have seen the expressions on the faces of the Slytherin students. Their eyes almost popped out of their heads. Congratulations, Harry, you really did it. Well done, Harry. Amidst the praises from everyone, Harry happily came to Remy. Remy, thank you for my skyrocket too, it's awesome, said Harry. Remy curled his lips and said, too bad. If it was Monkey King 1, it would only take 1/5 of the time to finish the game. Harry. You have really high requirements. But you should enjoy the skyrocketing monkey number 1 by yourself, I am not destined to use it. After exchanging pleasantries with the people around him, Harry returned to the locker room to change back into his school uniform, and then returned to the castle with everyone else. There was already a celebration party waiting for him. Not only him, but all students will participate. After all, Quidditch is a big competition that happens once a year. Although Remy thought this game was very boring because it ended too quickly, it was obvious that everyone else thought it was very exciting. Everyone was discussing heatedly, discussing Harry's superb flying skills while also discussing Harry's incredibly fast flying broom. In fact, they were discussing that special flying broom more than Harry himself. Harry didn't care about this, because that flying broom was not something that could be bought casually, and even if they asked Remy to buy it, Remy would not sell it to them. Because Remy has been busy with other things recently, let alone making a new flying broom, even helping him debug his flying broom required an appointment. By the way, Remy, what are you busy with recently? Can't you tell me? Harry asked curiously. It's okay now, I'm done, Remy said. Oh. Harry perked up, what good stuff is it? Can you show it to me? The people around, especially those who knew something about the situation, looked at Remy expectantly. Sure, nodding, Remy pulled a glass bottle the size of a water glass from his pocket and handed it to Harry. Taking the bottle, Harry looked at it curiously. The bottle seemed to be just ordinary glass, and inside it was a mass of white oval spheres that looked like rice but were only 1/5 the size of rice. Apart from that, nothing else could be seen. What is this? Harry asked curiously. Eggs, Remy said. Egg. Right. What eggs? Eggs. Insect eggs? Harry and everyone else's eyes suddenly became a little strange. They couldn't understand why Remy's new invention, which took so long to develop, turned out to be insect eggs. And did you create these eggs using magic? Harry asked. Yes. Remy nodded, these are not ordinary insect eggs, they are rich in nutrients, and the protein content is 6 times that of beef. Is this something edible? Ronald stopped eating and asked with wide eyes, will it not hatch in my stomach after I eat it? Of course not, how could I make such a low-level mistake? Remy said. May I ask, what kind of insect eggs are these? Harry asked. You'll know when you open it. Remy said. Just open it and you will know? Harry thought about it, nodded and started to open the bottle cap. As the bottle cap was opened, the top layer of insect eggs in the bottle hatched quickly, and then the insects spread their wings and flew out of the bottle quickly. Looking at the little black bugs in the air and listening to the buzzing sounds they made when flying, everyone's eyes changed. Mosquitoes? Why do you use magic to create mosquitoes? Harry asked in confusion. No, these are not ordinary mosquitoes, they are super mosquitoes. Remy said with a smug look on his face. Being bitten by a super mosquito not only makes it itchier and lasts longer, but they are also heat resistant and cold resistant. They can survive even in an environment of -100 degrees. They can even reproduce and have a super strong reproductive capacity. This is an epoch-making invention. It not only perfectly fills the gap of no mosquitoes in Hogwarts Castle, but also fills the gap of no mosquitoes in the entire wizarding world in winter. Everyone! Where is the gun? Take this BD out and shoot him. 5 minutes. Chapter 74. After listening to Remy's introduction, Harry was speechless. He really couldn't understand why Remy would go to so much trouble to invent something so evil and boring, but it seemed that Remy didn't find it boring. Super mosquitoes can reproduce both sexually and asexually. As long as there is one left, it can give birth to 1,000 babies in less than a week. You have already released 200 at this moment, said Remy. More than 200? I let it out? I blanch. Harry shuddered and quickly closed the lid, but to his horror the lids disappeared. Meeting Remy's half-smiley gaze again, Harry's heart stopped. Got cheated. Just as he was in a daze, suddenly, a mosquito landed on Harry's hand and stayed there for a moment. In an instant, an intense itching sensation came from his hand. Subconsciously, Harry loosened his grip. Snap! When the glass bottle fell to the ground, a dense buzzing sound followed the crisp sound of breaking. Seeing the swarm of mosquitoes rising up like a puff of black smoke, everyone's face changed. Some little girls were so scared that they screamed. The people around tried to move away, but it was no use because the mosquitoes ran much faster than them. Moreover, mosquitoes are very small and can be easily seen when they gather together, but when they are scattered, they cannot be seen clearly under the yellow light provided by the magic candle. Soon, there were groans and friction sounds all over the auditorium, and everyone was scratching themselves with crazy scratching skills. Even Remy, the creator of the super mosquito, was not spared, and his hands and neck were covered with small red spots. Remy suppressed the itch and didn't scratch like others because he knew very well the consequences of being bitten. Taking advantage of the chaos, Remy quietly mixed in with the fleeing crowd and left the auditorium. He was afraid that if he waited any longer he would not be able to leave, and he also needed to find a deserted place to apply the antidote on himself. It's such a sweet itch. It's worthy of being my masterpiece. After returning to the laboratory, Remy first praised himself, took out the anti-itch medicine and applied it on himself, and then took out the mosquito repellent and sprayed it on himself. Both drugs are colorless and odorless, so no one can tell that Remy has applied the drugs unless they know in advance. We can enjoy the show from now on. I hope you can have a good sleep. Remy thought gloatingly. There were thousands of mosquito eggs in that bottle. Now they have all hatched. Their number is enough to attack every student at night. Remy stayed in his laboratory until late at night, and returned to the dormitory to rest when he felt it was about time. I thought my roommates had all gone to bed, but when Remy gently pushed open the door in the dark, I was greeted by 8 green eyes. You scared me. What happened to you? Cosplaying as werewolves? Remy asked guiltily, taking a step back without leaving a trace. Of course we are, waiting. For you. Go. Catch. Before Harry could finish his words, Remy, who was on guard, turned around and ran away. Run? You can't run. Ronald gritted his teeth, scratched his neck and then shouted loudly. Remy is back. Everyone catch him. Click, click, click. Remy's heart skipped a beat when he heard the sound of a door opening. I blanch. So many people want to arrest me? Giving up on running towards the common room, Remy turned around and ran up the stairs. After running for only 2 steps, a large group of strong men appeared in front of Remy and blocked his way. They were all senior students, and they looked at Remy with very friendly eyes. Hi, what a coincidence, you guys are here for a night run too. Remy greeted. Yeah, and we're also planning on practicing fighting. Really? Then I won't bother you anymore. Bye. Turning around, jumping up, and dodging Ronald's boar charge, Remy used the wall to gain momentum and flew directly over Neville's head and landed not very smoothly. Bang. Ouch. I'll go. Boil. With a clang, Remy rolled smoothly to the end of the spiral staircase. Without daring to stop for a moment, Remy quickly got up and opened the door. There are always surprises when you open the door. You will see a large group of disheveled female ghosts blocking the door and looking at him affectionately with friendly smiles. Hello, well, you big head ghost. Catch him. Bang. A large cloud of smoke appeared along with a pungent smell. Taking advantage of their obstructed vision, Remy slipped through the group of female classmates like a slippery loach. Because there was no female anchor in the team, Remy was not caught. The most dangerous place is the safest place. If I run out now, I will definitely have to face students from other colleges, so I might as well. Glancing at the door leading to the girls' dormitory, Remy dashed in while the smoke bomb was still in effect. Remy found a dormitory and crawled under the bed, then heaved a sigh of relief. Go ahead and look for me. If you can find me, I'll... Plop. Quack. Meow meow. With the sound of flapping wings, Remy saw 4 owls and a cat land in front of him, screaming wildly. Who is so wicked to keep an owl and a cat in the dormitory? Can I sleep well? Cursing silently, Remy quickly crawled out from under the bed. At this moment, a chaotic sound of footsteps approached quickly, and many people shouted in a delicate voice to catch him. Meow. Just wait for me. I will take revenge on you. After saying some harsh words to the owl and the cat, Remy gritted his teeth, rushed to the window and jumped. Remy. You can't run away. Snap crash. The girls were shocked to see Remy shattering the glass and jumping out. Ha 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 ha, you can't catch me, right? I'm just that powerful. Hearing Remy's wild laughter coming from outside, the female ghosts who were originally a little worried suddenly became furious. Anyone who has a flying broom, go back and get one. We must catch him today, one person said, gritting his teeth. That's right. Not only did this guy release so many mosquitoes, he even dared to break into the girls' dormitory and mocked us. It's really abominable. We must catch him and give him a good beating, otherwise there will definitely be more men breaking into the girls' dormitory in the future. Yes, I must teach him a lesson he will never forget. On the other side, after the boys of Gryffindor College learned that Remy had run away, those who had broomsticks went to get their broomsticks, while those who didn't have broomsticks rushed out directly. The huge commotion attracted the attention of students from other colleges who were out at night. After learning about the situation, they rushed back to their own dormitories to call for help and joined the team to capture Remy. In the early morning of Halloween, a unique battle royale unfolded at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry amidst heavy snow. Chapter 75. Where is he? Just now I saw that he should be running in this direction. Search. He definitely can't get far. That's right, a carpet search. Friends above, please fly higher and watch carefully. We will use the lighting spell to illuminate you from below. No problem, we'll keep a close eye on it. As a group of wizards holding magic wands left, a snowman with a carrot nose blinked and the corners of his big mouth curled up wildly. You want to catch me with this level? Dream on. Who can spot me in this ghillie suit? Not only will I be standing right next to you, I will also be shooting you. He took out a white gun from his back and aimed it at the person in front of him. The smile on the snowman's face became even wider. Whoosh whoosh, 3 consecutive sounds of breaking through the air were heard. The 3 people who had just left were startled and hurriedly turned back. Bang, 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 shit. What is this? It's so sticky. I can't move my arms. What is this green slime? It must have been Remy. He must be nearby. Someone come. Remy is over here. Someone come quickly, don't let Remy get away. How immoral. They're already eliminated but they're still reporting points. You are a bunch of little losers, you can't afford to play with me. Remy, who had already moved to a corner, made an international friendly gesture to the 3 people and continued to run away. Fire one shot and move to another place. Remy, who is well versed in guerrilla warfare, used the cover of the heavy snow in the sky and his own snowman suit to roam around the square and the castle, having a lot of fun shooting from behind. Bayou 13 heads. 26 heads will be eating chicken in no time. After blowing the muzzle of the gun, Remy moved again with his short legs and ran to the door of a passage. He squatted next to a pillar and waited quietly for the next prey. At this moment, he was more LYB than LYB, more Voldemort than Voldemort. Even Voldemort himself would have to admit defeat. Strange, the map shows it should be nearby, why can't I find it? Could it be overhead? No. Did you use an invisibility cloak? Well, it's possible. Be careful. I heard that Remy has made another very interesting prank toy. Remy was startled when he saw the Weasley twins discussing in a low voice while holding a map next to him. Oh my god, these 2 guys actually turned on the full map perspective hack, and they did it right in front of him. Can this be tolerated? This is absolutely intolerable. Pulling out his gun, Remy fired at both of them. BB. In one breath, he covered their bodies with mucus, even blocking their mouths with mucus. Remy walked over and snatched the map from their hands in front of their shocked eyes. I declare that both of you have been banned for cheating, and your cheats have been confiscated. Remy said proudly. It's no use. I said I would confiscate it, so I will confiscate it. By ignoring the Weasley twins whose eyes were shining with excitement, Remy moved again, this time he ran to a very conspicuous position, right in the middle of the square. It turns out that the most dangerous place is actually the safest place. Little wizards ran past him waving their wands, and broomsticks flew over his head. No one noticed him, and no one even looked at him twice. The only pity was that the flying broom in the sky did not drop any airdrop supply boxes for him. This is a bit boring, do you want to increase the difficulty? When the 100th classmate ran past him and still ignored him, Remy decided to add some difficulty to himself to make the game more interesting. Wait a little longer. When there are more people in the square, I will wipe them out in one fell swoop. Thinking this way, Remy quietly moved to the edge of the square. As he was walking, suddenly, Remy felt a violent impact. Bang! Shit! Which BD bumped into me? Remy climbed out of the snow and looked around angrily. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the air. Remy is in the central square. He's disguised as a snowman. I've got him, come on everyone. You're holding on to that thing. Get down. Hold the gun, aim, and pull the trigger. Bibababayu. Although he failed to knock the opponent down with 3 consecutive shots, he successfully stuck his hands to the broom, making him lose the ability to cast spells. Remy, don't even think about running away. Fainted. Hanging fuchsia. Expelliar miss. Magical spells flew over one after another, and Remy was so scared that his neck shrank and he quickly used a trick to escape, throwing down a smoke bomb. Bang! When the smoke cleared, only a collapsed snowman suit was left on the scene, and Remy himself had already disappeared. Where are the people? Damn it, this guy is too good at running. Notify everyone, no matter what it is, if you see anything abnormal, hit it and make it faint. I agree. I just learned the disarming spell and this is a good opportunity to practice it. I will burn with fire. I'll be torn into pieces. I know the killing curse. Stare just, are you kidding me? There's no way I can do that kind of dark magic. Just as everyone was discussing how to punish Remy after catching him, suddenly, a loud laugh came from a distance. Ha 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 ha, you little brats think you can catch me. Today, I will introduce my latest invention to you. As a few stars twinkled in the sky, when everyone saw the so-called latest invention in Remy's hand, some students who recognized it were dumbfounded. This is Namo Gatling Bodhisattva. 3,600 revolutions in one breath. Great compassion saves the world, 6 senses are purified by slime bombs. Wizards, tremble under the muzzle of my gun. Ha 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 ha. With another burst of wild laughter, Remy pulled the trigger, and the next moment, the 12-barreled Gatling gun began to rotate, and one green slime bullet after another formed a line and shot towards the crowd in the square below. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Boil. Hide in cover. Expelliar miss. The flames are blazing. Fainted. Protect everyone. All of a sudden, colorful lights rose up from all over the square, some formed shields to protect the crowd, and some flew straight towards Remy. However, their range was far from enough to hit Remy, and some were even blocked by slime bullets as soon as they appeared. With every collision, the slime bomb will be broken into raindrops all over the sky, and these raindrops will still be very sticky when they fall to the ground. Fortunately, there is snow on the ground, otherwise someone's shoes would definitely be stuck to the ground. But after being covered in a large amount of snow, their movement speed was greatly reduced, and they were soon hit by the dense rain of slime bullets from behind and stuck in place. Remy laughed wildly, continuing to fire while freeing up one hand to throw slime grenades downwards. Looking at the students running away frantically below, Remy's smile gradually turned into fire.
If you're enjoying the story so far and want to hear the next parts, don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like me to continue the series, drop a comment below letting me know. Your feedback and support keep these audiobooks going strong. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.